They're bad arguments, yes. Why is a rich person more entitled to consumer goods? Yeah, mother. That it's money. Yeah, it's in a consumer society where you're buying consumer goods. It's the rich people that get most. That's how it works. No, Sherlock. We're not talking about medicine. We're not talking about your home. We're talking about food. We're talking about Taylor Swift concert tickets. You retarded. No, the richer people get more. What are you retarded? What the point of money?
Whoa! Just own you, bro.
Wait, stop! No. It seems to be the case that when you tax of certain things, even sugar, it seems to be that impacts the demand of that particular thing.
Is that like a good faith reply to what I just said?
It was better faith than what you're saying, which is...
I disagree. I think that like economic sense, I mean, maybe in this specific example, but that doesn't take account for the entire economy.
Just to be clear, you disagree with that market equilibrium is a real thing?
If you buy a house, that house is still going to increase in value. You're still going to have wealth tied up in assets.
It's a terrible way in which people acquire assets, though, because logically speaking, what they should do when they retire is sell their house, cash in, and downsize. If people did that, the problem wouldn't really be there.
Ooh, I don't know if the problem would go away entirely, but he's hinting at something that me and Econo Boy came in, or was it somebody else came in to talk about, that you're not very well incentivized to adjust your housing based upon your needs. If you have a house, you kind of want to keep it. Like, I don't know how common it is. I wonder if there are numbers on that. Like, how many parents sell their home after their kids move out? Like, you'll buy a home for your children because you want to have a home with like bedrooms for kids, but then once your kids grow up, you don't really move out. You don't like sell it and move. You just like keep it and you're there. And it's like, wait, what's the point of this? Now you're like occupying a whole ass house that you don't need. For, I wonder how common that happens.
They don't. I don't understand. I mean, literally, okay, I know of people where you have a single person, a widow, living in a house worth 2.2 million, whose own children are having trouble replacing the shock absorbers of their car. Before the woman's husband died, the two of them went down to the Harvester at the end of the road, okay, discovered that the special offer on the cheap dinner before 6 p.m. didn't apply on Fridays, and walked all the way home again. Right now, I don't know I don't know what your idea of millionaire is, okay? But probably your definition of millionaire is not someone who goes to Lidl because they're worried about the price of lemons. Right. But I know people who have literally... So you have this absurd discrepancy where you have people who are asset rich in a form of an asset which is completely illiquid, where for what...
Illiquid is what he's saying, right?
Rich in a form of an asset which is completely illiquid.
Yeah.
Where for whatever reasons, and some of them are good reasons, I'm not disputing this, but older people seem absurdly reluctant to downsize. I don't quite know what's going on there, okay?
I talked to my parents about this, I love them both, but are just financially just lost to this world. And it's like, yeah, I think they live in like a 4-bedroom house right now. I was like, why? Well, what if the family wants to visit? We get a hotel or we sleep on the couch. Why would you have an empty room 290 days of the year for like, if that's assuming you've got 2 months worth of family visit, like it's for all my things. We've got all these objects now and we need space for them. Sell them. My God.
But I mean, my brother lives in a house somewhere in Buckinghamshire where effectively the entire road, not quite the entire road, I think the entire road bar 3 houses consists of a house worth £1 million in which 1 or 2 retired people live with 4 or 5 bedrooms.
I think my aunt's house...
They're effectively bed...
My aunt lives in a huge house. Fuck. Can I find... Hold on. Do I know the address to this? I don't remember it. I wish I could look up the square footage. She lives alone. The cop aunt, yeah. She has a full retirement from the New York City Police Department, and she works full time at Home Depot so that she can afford her stupid huge house. I have no idea why. What the is the point? What the is the point of retiring? Just to work for it? God, dude, boomers are just, and Gen Xers are just
blockers for the property market. Okay, they're preventing people from forming families. Those people, they don't need.
Just talk to her about it. The answers that I gave you earlier, those were real answers that my parents have given before. This is why they want, like, they need a house for all the things they've got in their life, and because they're older now and they deserve to live in a really nice place. And like, it's just like, I've just never understood it. For me, like, money means that I never have to worry about missing a bill, and I have the freedom to do whatever I want. Not that I'm like sinking a ton of money into some huge stupid house. I can understand if you have like a nice view somewhere, or at least like places you could go walk to or do things, but not just to live in some big ass. Who cares? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Why? Who cares? You have a big house. In some cases, people hold on to their houses for sentimental value. Yeah, but then you're like destroying the whole world by doing that. Like, is that like, what if I wanted to just burn piles of coal and trash because we did it growing up for sentimental value? Like, that just, I don't know. I mean, if you want to like destroy the world, I guess. Did you move a lot when you were a kid? Maybe that's why you don't have a home feel. No, I mean, I had a home feel for my first home. It was super sad when we got foreclosed on and kicked out of our house and had our car repoed. I felt that. Now, I don't know if it was because of all the horrible stuff happening around our finances. Which, by the way, if I ever in my entire life, if I ever wanted confirmation that you guys are brain broken on all these issues, it was arguing with that one dude for 30 minutes, having all of chat tell me that I was out of touch and didn't understand anything about housing. And then as soon as I brought up that example that guy was saying was impossible, all of chat immediately switched to, oh, he's too emotionally involved. That's why he can't see this issue clearly. That was the funniest 180 I've ever seen chat do on a perspective that I've had in my entire fucking life. Okay, so how does keeping a house that you like equal ruining the world? If you are one or two people and you have a 3 or 4 bedroom house, you're engaged in the overconsumption of housing. You are in that house. Houses are limited. It's a scarce resource because you can only build so many houses and there's only so much land. And now a family that might want to buy a house can't do it because you're living there and occupying it and keeping it off the market for nothing. It's wasted space for you, but you just like it because you have memories in there. And so now you're just destroying the market. Yeah.
Property market. Okay, they're preventing people from forming families. Those people, they don't need the space. It's kind of wacko.
Serious question. Is there any good reason for the IRS not to fill out tax forms automatically if they have all the data they need to do so? Nope. Americans are just retarded when it comes to trusting the government to do anything. Just like there wasn't really a good reason to oppose net neutrality. It's just Republicans and conservatives are wacky and crazy.
Now, they're effectively bed blockers for the property market. Okay, they're preventing people from forming families. Those people, they don't.
That's the dumbest take I ever heard, Destiny. Don't you own a house with your ex that's being wasted? They live there. No?
Need the space. It's kind of wacko. Okay, I don't quite get what's going on. Now, one thing that could solve the problem quite quickly is to engineer a pretty decent property crash just temporarily, so people no longer had this absurd overconfidence in the fact that their house would continue to go up. I think there are people who don't move out of London who would be happier living out of London, but they're terrified that once you move out, you'll never be able to move back in, and they're terrified of missing out. It's basically a massive collective FOMO.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I mentioned the fact that, neoliberal economics assume.
Why wouldn't they live in an apartment? Why? Because you can afford a house? Why would they live in an apartment? What?
Optimal utility maximizing expenditure. Just to be clear on this, okay, housing is the worst way you can spend your money in terms of the externalities, okay? If I go to the pub.
God damn, who is this guy? Rory Sutherland. Hello, hell yeah. Hey, I chatted with you before about something similar. I'm listening to your recent lawyer conversation. I think you're not approaching it the rhetorically effective way. I have notes and timestamps. Got a second to chat. Maybe. Yeah, give me 20 minutes. Is there anything wrong with overconsuming housing? People overconsume a lot of products in capitalist countries. That's what makes them great, right? No. Housing is an incredibly limited resource, so overconsumption of housing is a huge issue. That's not good. We probably have to be careful about how we consume stuff related to housing. Certain things that are like very scarce or very limited, where the demand is relatively inelastic, like where lots of people need them, is probably not good to have people massively overconsuming those things because the externalities, the other effects you're having on the market are not good.
For money in terms of the externalities, okay? If I go to the pub, right? Okay, I'll give you an example of, if you look at the effect my expenditure has, my spending money has on other people.
When my partner and I are renting a 3-bedroom with extra space to build a studio/exercise room be overconsumption in your opinion? No, you're using the house. As long as you're using it all, that's fine. It's the main problem is probably old people that have their children move out and then they don't adjust their living situation. That's probably the biggest culprit.
Housing is the worst way you can spend your money in terms of the externalities, okay? If I go to the pub, right? Okay, I'll give you an example of, if you look at the effect my expenditure has, my spending money has on other people, right? There's a huge amount of variety in that if I go to the pub, I'm not just buying myself a pint, I'm also securing the survival of a pub for the benefit of lots of other people, okay? Spending money in pubs, cafes, and restaurants, I would argue, is kind of positive. It's positive for the wider community.
Yeah.
Okay. You might even argue, and I would, that buying a car from new is an extraordinary act of philanthropy, because I buy a car, I take a massive hit in terms of depreciation so that someone significantly poorer than me can have a car that is nearly as good as my car was when I bought it new for half the price. Okay, go out and buy a 6-year-old Jag.
Just as a heads up, I hear this so much. Every time I've went car shopping, I feel like this is just not true. Maybe I'm crazy, or maybe I just don't buy the right types of cars, but it's the same thing that people used to say when it comes to GPUs. I remember this for like a decade. It was always like, wait till the next set of graphics cards comes out, the last set will become cheaper. They never became cheaper. That was never true. I always hear people say like, oh, cars, they lose 20% of their value as soon as you drive off the lot. The second, bullshit. If you go buy used cars, where the f- all these used cars that are 2 years old and like 30%, 40, 50% off. I feel like cars are like a year old or 2 years old are like around like 5 to 10%, like within the same price of it being new. I don't know. Maybe I just bought used cars at like the wrong time, but every time I went shopping for used cars, I was like, where the fuck are all the 50% like 3-year-old cars? The fuck? This used to be true, but not anymore. Maybe it was a long time ago it was true. Holy shit.
Okay, you're basically driving around in a luxury vehicle at somebody else's expense. I mean, people who buy cars from you should be celebrated. We should have we should have a statue to anybody who buys a car from you. It's an amazing act of philanthropy. Okay, my brother's an academic, and I always tease him by saying that he basically, in most material goods, he ends up buying exactly the same shit I do, just 3 years later. Okay, whether it's computers or mobile phones or whatever, a secondhand iPhone. Utter extraordinary act of generosity. Someone has a phone which...
There's an XKCD on this, right? The IRS is rolling out direct file to all 50 states starting next year, based. Where have you been all week? Playing Half-Life 2. That came out in 2004. I get games on a 5-year lag. That way, I never have to buy a high-end system, but I get the same steadily advancing gaming experience as people who do, and at a fraction of the price. There are no downsides. I can think of one, early 2013. Guys, the cake is a lie. This was a triumph. The cake is a lie. Lay sigh. I remember trying to log into the original Command & Conquer servers a year or two back and feeling like I was knocking on the boarded up gates of a ghost town.
Effectively, the richest person in the world probably would have owned, not this very same phone, but an identical phone 3 years before, and they get it 3 years later for a third of the price.
From the little you know about them, if Nikki Haley won the Republican nomination, would you still vote for Harris over her? Curious how much you dislike how far left-ish Harris is. I would probably have to do a serious policy evaluation. I don't even know where the two parties stand right now on policy. The Democrats seem like they've gotten a little bit more outwardly hawkish, which I appreciate now as I've gotten older. I guess I've become more hawkish. Like, I appreciate a stringent defense of Ukraine. I appreciate restraining of, but is still a support of Israel. I appreciate wanting America to be somebody on the world stage. Like, these are things I appreciate now. The Democratic Party seems to enjoy that, enjoy the support of that. So I'm okay with that. Econ policy, I'm not as crazy about. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. It just depends. I would have to do like a serious policy back and forth analysis. Biden killed TurboTax. Why don't we hear about it? The IRA includes a provision for a system for filing taxes directly to the IRS for free. It was piloted in 2024 and will be made nationwide in 2025. Biden killed TurboTax. Killed it?
Phone, but an identical phone 3 years before, and they get it 3 years.
Overconsumption of housing is a term used by people who don't understand the importance community. You mean the importance of community? Don't even start. Please don't even start. Please. I can already see through how insanely fucking white you are. It is the whitest and most American privileged brained idea in the world that you need a huge fucking house for community shit. Not to lean in too heavily on anecdote, because I know that you guys get mad when I cite data and you get mad when I cite anecdote. My whole white family have so many big houses that with all these rooms and all the space, and they have no community, no family visits. Nobody's got the money to travel. Nobody does shit. The biggest like community I've ever seen happen in my family was when I would go down to Hialeah and hang out with my Cuban family during the summer. And those motherfuckers lived in the shitty cockroach infested apartments, and every night somebody would be having a cookout or a barbecue, and people would be outside and chatting and talking. This myth, whatever you're saying, actually, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm not even mad at you personally. This is just like a pleading life advice thing. Please do not delude yourself or bullshit yourself into thinking the only way you can have fun in a community family environment is to waste your life slaving over the acquisition of some huge house. It is the wrongest, dumbest, stupidest thing ever. Plenty of people have fun in small areas and in apartments, outside, in part, whatever the fuck. You can have fun in so many different areas, have community experience in so many different areas. The idea you need some fucking huge house to do it is so wrong. Oh my God, I've seen my God, I've watched so much of my family slave away to get these huge houses with this delusional idea that they would be having family dinners like every other night, and nobody goes and visits or anything because they're all broke. They're all over leveraged or working on paying off their Chapter 11s, or working on moving between houses because they're getting like they're all just financial ruins. I think he's talking about having to move out of your community if you were to sell your house. Oh, fuck neighbors. Who cares? That's just wrong because your neighbors suck. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean that could be an understandable reason to stay. I guess I could understand it, but people always say if you don't want noisy neighbors in an apartment complex, then you should get a house. Maybe. I think okay, I admit that this is a biased take. But you should make as much noise in your apartment all the time, every time, okay? Because, listen, when I worked night shift, and you daywalkers have zero respect. Daywalkers have zero respect for people working graveyard. It's like our sleep schedules don't exist to you. The amount of times, even at my work, the amount of times I would get called in early, like, why are you I have to be at work at 10 p.m. Why are you calling me at 4, asking if I can come in at 8? I get off work at 6. Can you imagine if I called the day shift manager that's supposed to be there at 6 and will be ready to work at 6:37 because day shift workers are always the laziest fucking employees ever? Can you imagine if I called her at midnight to see if she could come in at 4? You would kill me if I were to ever make these phone calls, okay? So you know what? If you're in an apartment, make noise. Fuck your neighbors. And then go and fuck your neighbors because they should be fucking themselves because daywalkers have no respect for grave shifts. So fuck noise complaints. Make all the noise you want, motherfuckers.
Later for a third of the price. There are lots of ways in which consumption is actually extreme. You've got, even if I go and buy a hot tub, okay, which is getting onto the more selfish phase of things. If lots of people buy hot tubs will become a lot cheaper and more people will be able to afford hot tubs. Yeah. So this is my problem. I feel that I've worked in advertising for 30 years and I've entirely wasted my time because what I've done is help people buy better and cheaper consumer goods for the most part. There are problems in customer service in service-led brands, which I'll park for the second. I think customer service has got worse, by the way, through a kind of cult of automation. But basically, the manufactured goods a kind of cult. I'll park for the part. There are problems in customer service in service-led brands, which I'll park for the second. I think customer service has got worse, by the way, through a kind of cult of automation.
It's not even customer service. It's like robot service. Yeah, true. We just gave up on that completely. I don't know who to blame on that. I feel like Steam was one of the first big companies. But I don't know if they influence Google or whatever. But yeah, there is no more human customer service anywhere.
But basically, the manufactured goods you buy, the food you buy, the meals you eat out, okay, are better than they were. I mean, you're not even old enough to fully appreciate it, but trust me, compared to the 1970s, okay, Pizza Express is the manoir au quatre saisons compared to a standard place you go and eat in 1973. Everything's got better. It's mostly got cheaper and more affordable. Okay. And the subtotal of that effect has been to allow people to spend more of their discretionary income on property. And therefore, most of what should have been the extraordinary gains in living standards in terms of the holidays people enjoy, the cars people drive, and everything else has been soaked up effectively by the property market. Okay? And I think we should tax that because I think it's an entirely worthless form of wealth accumulation. And I think that land value, not if you improve your house, you get to keep that because that's your work. But the actual basic value of the land and the appreciation of the value of the land should be heavily taxed because it's an atrocious thing for people to do with their money. It's not an investment, okay? It's totally inert in terms of its effect. It's purely rivalrous. It's much worse than the Dutch tulip thing, the property market.
Damn, okay, this guy goes harder than I do. Jesus.
Because I don't have to buy a tulip, right? Okay, the Dutch tulip boom was an insane kind of Ponzi scheme nutter boom, but, there are substitutions for tulips. I know these tulips getting expensive. I think
what is the Dutch tulip?
Right, it was a thing that it's part true, part mythical, I think, if you dig into it. It was effectively that tulip prices, and particularly for rare tulips, basically spiraled out of control at some point in 17th century Holland. And so it was one of these cases where effectively rising prices brought in ever more demand. And so you had this thing where effectively it was a crazy boom which spiraled out of control. That's not a problem because I don't need a tulip. I can get by without them. I could decide to substitute with gladioli, okay? But you need housing. You need a place to live. And actually, you need a place to live with a reasonable degree of certainty in which you can bring up a family. The fact that housing has become the predominant form of wealth storage
There's a huge problem.
is
not good.
Adam Smith, okay? Adam Smith distinguished between three things: labor, capital, land. Subsequent economists, because it made the maths easier, conflated capital and land and treated them as the same thing. Adam Smith quite rightly spotted that they are not the same thing. Capital and land are not the same thing. Land is something that is in short supply, and in many cases, the value of it is determined by the actions of others. Okay?
Boy, he's about to go full Georgism.
Someone builds a road, suddenly your house is worth either less or more, depending on whether the road is framed as a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
The Singaporean government basically is Georgist. In other words, they own a lot of the land. They fund a large part of the government they're effectively property developers with a side gig in governance.
I think that's the third or fourth time said Georgist now. Can you?
Crazy. So Henry George, I'm not, by the way, you could apply the same principle to any non-renewable resource, whether it be land or fossil fuels. But George's idea was that, taken to its purest extreme, was that there should only be a single tax in the United States.
What are your thoughts of people buying land to preserve nature? Nature's important. I think it's important to do stuff like that. Central Park is it's nice and amazing that in the middle of New York City you've got I think that's a good thing.
And the tax should be on the value of land, because the idea being that the value of land is basically, land ownership is basically extractive. It's rent seeking. Now, here's the greatest mystery in economics. All economists agree that rent seeking is a bad thing. In other words, patent trolling would be another example, okay? You're not actually contributing to anything. What you're seeking to do is to own a bottleneck, all right? And then effectively own something that is essential to somebody else and basically milk your ownership of it. You're not actually doing any useful work. Yep. You're not investing and creating anything new. You're simply exploiting an asset that other people require access to.
Yep.
So what tends to happen, okay, what George would say is...
Rent-seeking behavior is... I wish I had a more concise explanation of this. Rent-seeking behavior is when you're finding ways to make money by just exploiting a current situation, but you're not providing any additional value whatsoever. So things like derivative markets wouldn't be rent-seeking because you can argue that there's a boost in liquidity, or things like being a tour guide would be rent-seeking. Rent-seeking is when you're purely exploiting a situation to just... imagine there's a river, I guess, and you would go in front of it and you would just hold up a gun and say, you have to pay $5 here to come and drink. That's rent-seeking behavior. There's got to be a better way to... What is the more concise explanation? Isn't the gig economy the same? Absolutely not. That's a service that's being offered. Rent-seeking is the act of growing one's existing wealth by manipulating the social or political environment without creating new wealth. Rent-seeking activities have negative effects on the rest of society. They result in reduced economic efficiency through misallocation of resources, stifled competition, reduced wealth creation. Rent-seeking can also be in the form of going to the government and trying to find ways to milk money out of the government without actually doing anything. Would scalpers be considered rent-seeking? Maybe. I'm not actually sure about that. I don't know. The result is reduced economic misallocation of resources, stifled competition, reduced wealth creation, lost government revenue, high income inequality, risk of corruption. What is scalping? Rent-seeking. Aren't you pro-scalping? I'm neutral on scalping. I think that I don't think you should ever... I think generally it's stupid to be mad at scalpers. Don't improve. profit from buying the available stock and raising the price you pay. Rent seeking is also a lobbying action corporations engage in. Rent seeking is collecting wealth without creating new wealth. If a scalper buys something on all they offer and resales a higher price with no other benefit, that is rent seeking. If they were to offer something else, like convenience or bundling or some other service, that's no longer rent seeking because the wealth was earned by selling. I feel like if you're just scalping in and of itself, I think this would probably be considered rent seeking behavior. The issue with the problem with scalping, true, yeah, dark figment, yeah. Fuck, I don't want to get into all my unpopular takes because I'm just right and people get mad as fuck about it. If scalping is happening, the reason why the scalping is happening is because the initial price was set too low. That's why. People get mad, but that's it. The price for the initial thing should have been set higher. If you're mad at the scalper, you shouldn't be mad at the scalper. You should just acknowledge that either you probably shouldn't have been able to afford the good or service in the first place, or they should have made more of them. When PS5s are listed for $300 each, and they sell out almost immediately, and they're relisted for $700 on some websites, and people are buying them, the original PS5s should have just been listed for $500 or $600. That's it. Scalpers are only existing in a profitable manner when markets, for some reason, are setting prices inefficiently. And if there's an incredibly inefficient setting of a price, then a scalper is going to come in and they're going to adjust the pricing levels and they're going to collect rents basically in doing so. But what about supply side issues? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like you can supply, if you don't have enough supply, then you should raise the price. But for, I think for PR reasons, like companies can't do that because they would look bad. But then scalpers will come in and they'll make money. But that will always happen. There's almost nothing that you can do to counter that because the market is just setting a price that's just way, 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 way too low. What if scalpers cause the supply shortage? That shouldn't technically be possible. If we're talking about elastic goods, but
asset that other people require access to. Yep. So what tends to happen, okay, what George would say is that when you get people, let's say, forming a community, and the community becomes more and more desirable and more wealthier, more people want to move there and so forth, the gains, which should go to the people who did the work or indeed provided the upfront investment to build the buildings or whatever, instead go to the owner of the land who contributed nothing. And what tends to happen is whenever you have any form of useful activity which depends for its performance on its location, the gains from that activity do not primarily go to the person who's performing the useful activity. Okay, they go to the person who owns the land on which that activity takes place.
Yes.
Okay, so an example would be airport retail, which is effectively, various brands have to be there. The people who get rich out of airport retail are not retailers; they're airports. And what they happen to do is simply own a kind of, they've got a location, the ownership of which confers an income on them without requiring any commensurate investment or risk. And so the idea is that effectively, since this thing is extractive, some people have described Georgism as basically socialism in relation to land, free market capitalism in relation to everything else. Yeah. Okay, that's probably quite a good shorthand. You could, interestingly, I'm sure some people do, I haven't researched this enough, extend exactly the same thing to...
Yeah, ignoring the factor of bots on shoes, consoles, GPUs is just nutty. They couldn't significantly scalp at the current level without bots circumventing cart limits on retailers. The reason why those limits are being put in place is because the price is not set appropriately. If somebody is able to massively buy up a good and then relist it at a higher price, that means that the original good should have just been listed at a higher price. If people that are scalping can make a lot of money, the reason why they can make a lot of money is because the initial price was probably too low. Like that's... I mean, there are going to be some circumstances for this where, like, if you're literally able to buy up 100% of a good and relist it, and like it's something that people really want or whatever, then there's, but
for example, non-renewable energy.
Yeah,
you could say oil. The ethical justification for this is kind of look, land. Okay, the fruits of your labors rightly belong to you because you created that thing. Okay, however, land shouldn't necessarily belong to anybody because it was effectively an endowment from the creator, you might have said, and the gains from that endowment deserve to be a portion.
How much do you think the PS5 should have been priced at release? I mean, ideally, the ideal pricing is where every single unit is sold and the last unit sells for the most expensive price somebody would be willing to pay for it, and then the goal would be to get as much money out of every customer as possible, and for every customer who's able to buy one who can bid the most for it to be able to buy it. But that's not what people don't like to hear. That people want to think that everyone should be able to buy even a limited thing. Like there are 1,000 PS5s available, and all 10,000 people should be able to buy one. Like that's what people want to hear. So, but
because it was effectively an endowment from the creator, you might have said, and the gains from that endowment deserve to be apportioned fairly and reasonably, whereas the gains from individual labor, enterprise, or risk deserve to be disproportionately apportioned to rewarding the person who underwent those efforts or those risks. I think that makes sense, does it?
Yeah.
So it's basically saying that land is a different category of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and you might argue of fossil fuels. I would say it's not a huge leap to say that you should basically tax the use of non-renewable resources.
Yeah.
Because the idea being that they aren't actually the fruit of man, if you want to get religious about it. They're actually a kind of, they're a fixed endowment.
what about when bands in the 90s refused to sell tickets above a certain price because they didn't want to play for only a wealthy audience? I mean, wealthy people are going to get it anyway. What do you mean? There's no way that you can ever poor people are just going to sell their tickets. Or you're just, okay, so what? So somebody who's able to spam F5 on the website and buy first is more worthy than a person that has more money than somebody like, well, who, like, I'm sorry, but like, what do you mean? It's just, like, yeah, the problem is just that, it sounds mean, but like, this is just like it's an entitlement problem. People think that they are owed or they deserve some particular thing for no real reason. You don't. Like, why couldn't we just create a type of patent system for selling PlayStations that only PlayStation has and not allow reselling? I mean, you can try it, but like how the fuck, like regulating that throughout an entire economy is just going to be really, 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 really difficult. You're trying to deal with, you're creating a market inefficiency and then you're trying to solve it with government policy. You can do it. I mean, it's not like, arguably all government policy is trying to redirect market forces, but market forces are real. Market forces are powerful. Like, what about the unforeseen shortages, like if a major warehouse burned down, causing supply to be unexpectedly short? Should businesses then raise their prices as a consequence since their stock is now more valuable? I think that in a perfect world they could, but in the real world you can't really do that because, so like for instance, like here's what would happen in a perfectly economically fluid world. When Sony does the first run of PS5s, the first run of them is sold at like $850 each or something, right? And then people that want to buy it, that are wealthier, will come and buy it. And then people that, can't afford it, wait for the next run, and then they buy the second supply. But the problem is in the real world we live in, it's a bit messier, and people are more they're I don't want to say emotionally driven, but like it's a different, you live in the real world where perceptions and stuff exist. And if you initially list a PS5 at $850 and then you do the next run at $500, people are going to have that first impression. It's going to be really bad and it might hurt your reputation as a business to do the initial listing at a higher price. But again, anytime you have a huge difference in what you're listing something as what people are willing to pay versus what you're charging, like there's gonna be arbitrage. I don't know. It's always gonna happen. Scalping is just arbitrage, really, and arbitrage is real and powerful, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. You'll never, ever be able to. You'll never be able to fix that. Okay. Comments. But you don't think real estate companies and foreigners buying out houses is a problem? A real estate company buying a house to rent it is not a problem. The supply is still available in the market. I don't think foreigners buy out houses and don't occupy them. I don't think that happens. Overconsuming would be having multiple houses, not having a bigger house. I mean, you could overconsume in both ways. It just depends. If you rent out a house, it's not really overconsuming. You're making it available in the market for somebody to live in. Destiny, don't they typically give their house to their children so their children can have a house for their family? No, I don't think the ages work out that way. Maybe your grandparents could, but like, is mom and dad dying, or is mom and dad ready to leave the house once you have kids? I mean, maybe if your parents are really, really, really old, or if they're willing to move out and leave. But then also, who do they give the house to? What if your parents have two sets of kids, or one set of kids? I guess a set would be two kids. That guy's talking about your parents' second house. Are stock buybacks considered rent seeking? No, of course not. Would payment processing charges, percentage based, be rent seeking? No, because you're paying for a service for a payment processor, right? How many rooms does your apartment have? It's a 2-bedroom apartment. How would you solve a dilemma of an in-demand performer that only wants to offer services to a certain demographic independent of wealth without violating EO or legal ethical constraints. I don't think you can do that in the United States. If you're trying to target a protected class, I don't know if you're allowed to do that, right? Why does the accusation of entitlement only apply to people who want lower prices but not wealthy customers who can buy up something at any price? Well, because if you can afford something, then most people, at least in a capitalist economy, say that you would be entitled to it. If you can buy something, then you would be able to buy it, right? Isn't that how that works? I mean, you could argue there are some things that you shouldn't be entitled to via like money. So for instance, like let's say that you can afford to go to a certain college. It doesn't necessarily mean you're entitled to a diploma or entitled to a good grade. You'd have to earn that in other ways. But if we're talking about consumer goods, you are entitled to those by buying them, right? How is creating a guest suite not a valid adjustment? If you rent out a room in your house, I think that's fine. It just sucks that there's like all that space that's just empty and unused. Can you really solve this overconsumption? Is the only solution any way to build more houses? Can't really change people's minds radically and make them let go of their beloved houses? I mean, I think the culture has to change, but in the US, I don't know if it can at this point. What are the best floors with no noise in apartments? I don't know, probably level 1 floors. Corner rooms are good too because I think you're usually farther away from people to scream. Like if you're in a corner unit, I don't think the people on the sides of you hear as much. Maybe, I don't know why. Should wealthier people be entitled to scarce organs if we allow a market for organs? I don't think that's how we do organs. We don't price them out. Don't we put you on a wait list for it? How is raising prices of scarce goods utility maximizing? This would only be true if everyone's incomes were equal and the only access for bidding was utility conferred. I didn't say it was utility maximizing. I'm just saying that if you're a company and your goal is to make money, which is what every company's goal should be, then ideally you would want to sell every good for what somebody's willing to pay for it, right? If you think people having extra rooms is so bad, then people who own multiple homes must be way worse, right? Not if they rent them out. I mean, if they have multiple homes and they're just sitting on them doing nothing, yeah, I think that's probably pretty bad. What about scalping medicine? I think you can probably make ethical arguments for why. That's why I was saying before, elastic goods means things that you can go without. For certain inelastic things, you can probably make moral arguments for why there shouldn't be price scalping on these things. Like for instance, like hoarding during natural disasters is a form of like scalping, like price gouging or stuff like that. You can probably make moral arguments why that shouldn't be allowed. Russian billionaires own empty homes for value. I don't believe that. I think there are way better investments to make than just having an empty fucking house. True, but if someone just wants a big space and they afforded that space by contributing to society, then isn't amoral to consume more space than they need just because housing is inelastic? I mean, you're fucking the market up a little bit. I mean, if you want to, it's like polluting basically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said if you live in a place that has more rooms and people living, it's a waste. But I doubt you live yourself always live in only 1 or 2 room apartments. Well, you would be wrong. And I'm the worst example to use if you're trying to do a personal attack there because I super do not give a fuck about I've never been a person who like needs a ton of space. Why should companies only try to make money? Isn't one of the classic arguments for markets is that they align incentives? Jacking up in scarce goods skews this more towards the seller. I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to get mad at you, but you're not entitled to a PS5, dog. You'll live if you don't have one. You're not entitled to the latest NVIDIA 4090. That's not a scarce good that's going to cause you to die if you don't buy one immediately, okay? You don't have to have every single brand new Android, every single brand new iPhone, every single brand new console, monitor, graphics card, whatever the fuck. You'll live if some of these are priced higher, okay? You don't have to be able to afford every single top-of-the-line brand new gizmo and gadget that comes out, or else like you have to, make arguments like you can't afford insulin. It's not the same thing. I'm sorry. Is the desire for lowered prices ever justified, or should we always lean towards a 100% buyer's market? What? is the desire for lowered price ever justified? It depends on who you are. If you're the consumer, you always want the lowest price. If you're the supplier, you always want the highest price. But you aren't entitled to a low price, I assume. No one's entitled to any. I mean, the only types of entitlements we should talk about are like moral things, like medicine and stuff. People, hopefully, in society, we could make people like be able to have access to medicine and stuff, like or you know, like being able to have a place to live and not be homeless, or be able to afford food and clothes and stuff.
Houston's with you, Butch. Go ahead.
There's a strange noise coming through the speaker, and I didn't know if you could connect into the Starliner and let me keep mic and let you hear it. I don't know what's making it, but
aren't you against universal health care? Not really.
I don't know if there's something that maybe is connected between here and there, making that happen. But anyway, can you do that?
We can configure that, Butch. Give us a minute, and I'll call you back when it's ready.
Okay.
Station Houston on 2. We're configured for audio via.
What about consoles that are usually sold at a loss? Game hardware makers want to encourage large-scale sales because of software commission. Increasing price in that case would be a net negative to the company. If you have enough consoles to sell to everybody, then you can afford to sell at a loss. But if you don't have as many consoles, honestly, the scalpers are probably doing the company a favor at that point. If I were to list 10 PS5s and I list them for $100 each and 10 poor people buy them versus 10 scalpers buy them and then resell them to rich people, the rich people are probably going to end up buying more on the secondary market than the poor people would. So in that case, the scalpers are even helping the first-party manufacturers. Like,
Houston's with you, Butch. Go ahead.
There's a strange noise coming through the speaker, and I didn't know if you...
Does anyone find Destiny annoying here? True, I'm sorry. Let me restate my position to be more clear. I think every single thing should be listed for $1 in society. I read a study yesterday that shows that you can make insulin and PS5s for $3 each, and there's no such thing as R&D, and every company is just a lazy, greedy billionaire, and I think that every single thing in every single store should be listed for $1. Yes.
Houston on 2. I've got a question about Starliner.
Houston's with you, Butch. Go ahead.
There's a strange noise coming through the speaker, and I didn't know if you could connect into the Starliner and let me keep mic and let you hear it. I don't know what's making it, but I don't know if there's something that maybe is connected between here and there, making that happen. But anyway, can you do that?
Fuck. I feel like scalpers are taking advantage of an inventory issue, not a pricing issue. Implying raising prices would fix the issue isn't correct in my opinion. That's fine, but depending on how you look at markets, there literally is no such thing as an inventory issue. There's a consumption demanded at a given price. That's it. There is no such thing as an inventory issue. The prices would just continue to increase as the supply dwindles until eventually people aren't willing to buy the final product, basically, right? It's the meme of we'll never sell out of oil on the planet. The last barrel of oil will just be $1 million, whatever, right?
We can configure that, Butch. Give us a minute, and I'll call you back when it's ready.
Okay.
Station Houston on 2. We're configured for audio via hardline and CST. If you want to give us a call.
Okay, I'm in Starliner, and how do you read?
5x5. How many?
Okay, I'm gonna keep the mic up next to the speaker.
Copy.
Hear that?
At negative, Butch, we did not hear anything.
That.
All right, Butch, that one came through. It was kind of like a pulsing noise, almost like a sonar ping.
Yeah, I'll do it one more time, and I'll let y'all scratch your heads and see if you can figure out what's going on. Here we go. All right, over to you. Tell us if you figure it out.
Yep, good recording. Thanks, Butch. We will pass it on to the team and let you know what we find. And Butch, just to make sure I'm on the same page, this is emanating from the speaker in Starliner. You don't notice anything else, any other noises, any other weird configs in there?
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
So is your argument that scalpers aren't bad because money is still being circulated in the economy and people are just entitled? No, scalpers aren't bad. They're just taking advantage of a bad problem, which is a supply shortage. That's the thing that sucks about scalpers. Like people will be upset at scalpers and pretend that the reason why they couldn't get whatever they wanted was because of scalpers, but they probably couldn't get what they wanted because the supply was short. But people take the supply chain issue or the supply issue and then they'll complain about scalpers when the reality was there just wasn't the supply in the first place. Like people would assume if there weren't scalpers, everybody would get a system or everybody, but that's not true. Scalpers are taking advantage of a shortage of supply, but nobody understands that. So, yeah, scalpers are good then. Scalpers are good if you're a wealthy person and you weren't able to get it like immediately from the store and you want to buy from a scalper, or if you're somebody that's just willing to pay more money. But scalpers are bad if you would have been the person that would have gotten it initially, but then a scalper bought it instead of you. Couldn't you be mad at both though? I mean, I guess you could be, but the main issue is the shortage of supply, the initial shortage of supply. So we should overproduce? You should produce as many units as you think will be sold. Scalping itself is immoral. It literally adds no value to the market. It probably, I mean, it adds a little bit of value to the person that buys from you. But I mean, overall, you're probably right. I think scalping is probably it's probably rent-seeking behavior. They're not really adding value, sure. Question is, if they're consistently sold out instantly, why aren't they just making more of them? They do. People usually can only make so much for the first run, and then they make more for a second run. Like, that's usually what happens, right? Like, if you want to buy a PS5 now, hold on, I'm sorry. I used to be a gamer, okay? Am I crazy? If you want to buy a graphics card, if you want to buy a console, they're always available. You just usually have to wait a little bit, right? People lose their fucking minds because like consoles are listed on the market or graphics cards are listed on the market and they can't fucking find any for like the first like few weeks. But usually there's like a second or third or fourth run. And eventually they'll be there. But people like lose their fucking shit when they can't buy it day zero. Like just chill, wait a couple months or wait a month. Like, geez, my God. It never used to be this way. Shut the fuck up. It absolutely used to be this way. I remember like the Christmas runs for trying to get like certain like consoles and shit where people would like desperately be trying to find like a Walmart or a Target that sold them that wasn't sold out. Absolutely this shit happened back in the past. Off. Didn't you just say there's no such thing as a supply issue? Scalpers are the just market makers. The main value they add is liquidity. I would disagree in saying the scalpers are doing a liquidity thing because the liquidity is already maximized, right? Like if a scalper doesn't buy it, somebody else is going to. What they're really doing is scalpers are adding price discrimination, a price discrimination mechanism, essentially. What a scalper is saying is like, hey, listen, if you want to pay more for this particular thing, you have the option to get it even if it's sold out. That's essentially the service the scalper is offering. Yes, but there should be a better way to not have consumers compete with resellers. Okay, listen, this is the final thing I'll say on this, okay? When you see a scalper, you get mad because you're under the false assumption that if the scalper wasn't there, you would have the thing. You probably wouldn't. If a scalper got it, you probably weren't going to get it anyway. Chances are you were never going to get it. But you see the scalper and you blame the scalper when the reality is if the scalper wasn't there, some other random dude would have bought it and you wouldn't have had it day zero. That's it. That's it. It's a supply issue. But with the scalper there, you can externalize all of your blame and hatred onto the scalper when the reality was there was never enough for you in the first place. That's it. Sorry if that makes you upset. You can toss that one around in your brain, go ask your econ or finance teacher or whatever, and they will explain exactly what I explained to you in more words. If you want to see the pretty supply and demand graphs and the inefficiencies that are caused by a low supply and what that means for the shifting of the curve and all, you can go talk to them about it. I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, but that's what's happening. You're delusionally blaming the scalper, thinking that if he wasn't there, all of us, it's like there's 10 widgets for sale and 500 people want to buy a widget. And then 8 widgets are bought by people that are first come, and then 2 widgets are bought by scalpers. And the other like 5,000 people are looking at the 2 scalpers going, fuck, if it wasn't for that guy, we'd all have widgets. That's what you're doing right now in your brain. But I understand the emotional frustration, it's retarded. Like, yeah. Destiny, you're just wrong though. Starter69, hop into Discord if you want, my friend. This is like it's the easiest Econ 101 argument in the history of all of arguments. There's nothing that, like, you can't possibly be correct here. Like the math and the theory and the practice, every single part of this is against you. If you want to hop in, go for it. Surely concerts are different because there's a capped supply. I know. I mean, the tickets are listed too low. People are willing to pay more for them. If you listed tickets lower than what people are willing to pay, there's always going to be somebody doing arbitrage.
Hello?
Okay, what?
Okay, so I think that I don't care. I don't give 2 fucks about 490s and graphics cards and PS5s. I think that you're right there, but I think that you're absolutely wrong when it comes to stuff like concerts and stuff. Because concerts, like when you go to a concert, there's always those dumb fucks who bought the shit like immediately and are just standing outside trying to now give their tickets away. That like clearly there's a issue there with the scalping that like
If they can, if they're able to sell the tickets for more than the original list price, that's the problem. The original price should have been higher.
But if they're buying like 100 tickets and they can't get rid of the last 20, but they still made a profit, like
then the original ticket should have been higher. So it's not profitable to do that. If you can buy 100 tickets and only sell 80% of your stock and you're still profiting, that means the original list price was way too low. How else would you make money? Just think about it. Think about it logically for 2 seconds. If I buy, let's say I buy 100 tickets, okay, for $1 each, okay, but I can sell 80 of them for $2 each, and then I've got 20 that I didn't sell. I made a ton of money. Well, why the fuck was the original list price only $1 then? If I could sell 80 of them for $2, they should have just been sold initially for $2 or $1.80.
I think that it's different with I think that this is okay for like.
What did I just say that was wrong?
Stuff.
What didn't work with what I just said?
So let's go with like a band, just any band, and they are like
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. They play at the same fucking venue every year at the same fucking spot, and they're like $20. Well, now that scalpers like have kind of keyed in on this whole market that they can just buy all the tickets like the second they become available off of like Ticketmaster, and then they know that at least some people will buy them, right?
So why not list them higher on Ticketmaster then? Why not just list them at higher?
Wait, I'm sorry. Let me help you out, brother. Why do they have to? Bands are allowed to set the price they want to pay. The issue is that there is an aftermarket. There are places like StubHub. So this isn't about supply demand. This isn't about what the tickets ought to have been priced at. It's that there are these venues that are available because it's legal for them to sell these tickets. No one in the fucking world is saying, I would have gotten the ticket if it wasn't for Scalper. I could at the very least have said I missed out to other fans who actually wanted to be there. Instead, I'm fighting against bot networks. They're buying shit tons of tickets ahead of time. As soon as they open, I can't compete with that. So I didn't really have that much of a fair chance if 20% of the tickets end up scooped up and on StubHub by someone who's doing that. That's the issue. And then when it comes to products...
Hold on. Wait, how is that the issue? Why weren't the tickets just listed for a higher price then? If you say a band wants to celebrate,
that has nothing to do with it, Steven. They don't need to be listed at a higher price.
Then how?
The issue is that they are competing against people they can't compete against. If they lose out to fans, people are more okay with that than losing out to these fucking companies.
Wait, hold on. Who? It's going to be fans buying it at the end of the day. Who do you think scalpers sell to?
No, they had a chance to buy it at retail. The reason these tickets are still available on StubHub weeks after they've gone on sale is because the price is then increased and it slows down the ability for people to go ahead and buy it.
Hold on. Nothing you're saying makes sense. If a scalper is able to buy a ticket and then resell it for a profit, how are they making money if not because the initial price was too low?
It's not about the profit. You were looking at this through the wrong perspective. You think that your comment earlier, like, I don't know how far behind I was. Your comment earlier where you're like, they should have just raised the price, or people think that that if the tickets are, I'm brain farting. Sorry, I'm playing Diablo. You said a comment about if the tickets are
$20 and a bot's able to come in and buy them and then relist them for $30, why didn't they just sell the initial tickets then for $30?
Because it's not what that's not the issue.
Because
I'm sorry. I figured it out. It's you said that people think that they would be able to get a ticket if it wasn't for the scalper. It's like, no, people understand there's still a limited supply. No one is under the delusion that there isn't going to be a limited supply. It's that they're competing against people that are buying significant amounts of it. And if they do want to go get it, then they have to pay a higher price. But the band's allowed
then that's to just the price. That's just the price that they have to pay that. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, what do you mean? Like,
that's not the issue. The issue is that they don't want to have to go pay. I paid $600 for my fucking Taylor Swift ticket. Okay, that was insane. I paid for it because I wanted to go see the concert. Yeah, that's all fine and good. And if I was paying it for someone who didn't have their ticket and saw that they could sell it for a little more, I don't have a problem with that either. But what I do have a problem with is that 20% of those tickets get scooped up by people that are able to do it at a rapid rate better than other people can.
And I think depending on the venue, it's even more than 20%. Like at local shows, you have a significant portion of the tickets that are now just being resold. So you have like 70% of the venue that's empty because it just all got sold by scalpers and people aren't going to go pay $50, $60 to see like a local band.
Stop. Hold on. I can only do one dog shit argument at a time. So scalpers are buying.
No,
they are dog shit. They're bad arguments. Yes.
No, they're not. We have
what is the argument?
Your perspective.
Hold on. Wait. You're arguing. Stop. You're arguing the perspective that a person wouldn't be mad losing it out because they didn't buy it because another fan bought it, as opposed to a scalper buying it.
Kind of mad.
So hold on.
Different kind of mad.
I'm not speaking to why an individual might get mad. Then that's fine. People can get mad for whatever reason they want, and they won't get mad, I guess, if a fan buys it instead of a scalper. If you want to say that, that's fine. That has nothing to do with the central argument, which is that the ticket should have been listed higher if you want to prevent scalpers from selling tickets.
Why would you have to? You shouldn't have to mark it up to protect against scalpers. You mark it to what you think
still
is.
Just scalp anyways. It's a concert. It's like a once in a like this is this is why I said the 490s and the PS5s are different from like concerts.
Hold on, one argument at a time. Hold on, wait. Okay. Once in a lifetime. What are you talking about? It's a concert. You don't need to see this. You won't die if you don't see this. There's a certain price you're willing to pay. If a scalper is able to come in and buy something and resell it, it means that people were willing to pay whatever the scalper is selling it for.
I don't know why you're.
But the thing is, like, you're not understanding here is that like there's an opportunity cost as well. So if I'm working my 9 to 5 job and the tickets go on sale at 10 o'clock and then I get home at 6 and scalpers have sold all the tickets, how is it my fault that I wasn't able to get to it first because I'm working? Like, this is what people are mad about, on top of the fact that now I have to pay an opportunity cost premium.
There's opportunity cost premium doesn't even make sense here. Number one, and number two.
Well, you're getting charged if we go with your original example of it's $20 for the ticket, and then scalpers buy it, and now it's $30. Well, because you weren't like constantly hitting F5 on the page.
Yeah, but if they would have listed it,
cost of $10 by not getting fired from your job to fucking.
If they would have listed it initially for $30, the scalpers just would have never bought it then.
No, they would have charged $40. Why wouldn't they have charged $40? If I'm scalping, why wouldn't I just charge $40 for it?
Do you think a scalper can buy and resell at any price they want?
I think they don't need to. Increasing it higher, they just need to have a good enough margin for it. And
stop, hold on, wait. Do you think that a scalper can buy and relist at any price they want and always make money?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. I understand. Hold on, I see a lot of yes in chat. Okay, you guys just retarded. I don't know what else to say. Okay, there's nothing to say. If you think that there is an inelastic demand, if you think there's an inelastic demand on every single thing that a scalper sells, you guys are a consumer brain beyond all belief. I don't know what to say. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
How is this a yes or no question of they can sell it for any price they want? Do you not know how like margins work? Like,
what are you talking? Margin? What are you talking about for a margin? There are no margins here. They're just buying and selling. The margin is literally just the difference between the sell price and the purchase price. Well, we're not operating a complex business here. What are you talking about?
1% margin. They can't sell it at a 1 cent margin, obviously. But there's like, if there's a 5% margin or whatever, then yeah, they can sell it like anywhere beyond that 5% margin that they need to make a profit.
Yeah, but you can't just sell at a 5% profit if the person won't pay a 5% increase in cost or price.
Well, people are clearly paying it because.
Then why do they just sold that for the original price?
Because people are obviously also willing to pay a little bit more.
Then they should sell it for more. No, hold on. People don't buy things because of margins. People don't buy things because of the margins. Nobody knows what your margin is when you're buying something. You buy it for what you're willing to pay for it.
Haven't you said before that people are infinitely stupid at numbers? If somebody saw a 5% margin, they're going to be like, oh, well, it's only 5% more, so I guess it's okay.
What do you think the margin is on a ticket to a performance in a concert? You have no idea. Nobody buys tickets that way.
No, but like... Oh my God.
I don't think that this is the right way to go about it. I think you've got this look of like, well, if you want to fix it, make the tickets higher. It's like, no, this is a consumer protection issue. We don't mark up the cost of goods in a way to ensure that people aren't buying them that ought not to be buying them.
What? We're talking about concert tickets. There is no consumer protection issue here.
Stop. Yes, there is. We do this all the time. It's not about like, well, this is a critical good, so we must protect consumers. No, the whole purpose of the Better Business Bureau is to ensure that businesses that many of which don't serve like some significant necessary function are still able to be, given some sort of check against over their customers. The services being provided are as advertised or whatever. So
what would
as
be
far as the tickets go,
what would raising the cost of tickets be in violating any good consumer practice?
It's not about no. It's about that's not the right solution. You're looking at it the wrong way. You're like, well, just raise the prices. Well, no, fuck that. Don't make it harder for people who want to buy these tickets. Buy them. Make it so that there can't be these after seller markets until.
Well, you already are making it harder for some people to buy them. What if there are fans that are willing to pay the higher price, but now they can't because the fucking retarded concert vendor or whatever listed the tickets for $10 each, but they would have paid like $50 if it was listed higher.
The fans who are the ones who actually want to go see the concert and got there to the site were able to do so and didn't have to pay an exorbitant rate to do so. That the concert holder, that the artist and their production company were able to say, we want to set our prices at this price, and we want to make sure that scalpers don't get the tickets. So we want some law to be enacted that, up until 60 days before a concert, tickets cannot be listed on any secondary website. And that like certain companies are outlawed that aren't allowed to do, they're not allowed to use bots. Using bots to buy tickets is illegal. Things like that. Those are just simple consumer protection implementations that could be done, and it doesn't fuck anyone over, and fans still get to go see these concerts.
And bands are playing to empty venues.
I don't think the bands playing to empty venues shouldn't be possible. I don't know what you mean when you say that. Like that's being caused by scalpers.
I mean, I've been to a couple shows locally that like. It definitely feels like there was scalpers because there was people outside selling tickets, but like the pit area was like open, and I'm like, how is the show sold out? But there's like,
what city do you live in?
I live in Orlando.
There's no way that scalpers are buying so many tickets that half the venue is empty. It's probably just nobody bought the tickets because nobody wants to go and see the show.
And why did they say that the show is sold out or whatever?
Probably to bring people to come because it's hype as fuck. Sold out. That'd be my guess.
I don't even
There's
need
no way scalpers are dumb enough to price themselves out of the market. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, unless the tickets are being sold at such an inappropriate price. Like if they're selling tickets for $5 each and the scalpers can resell for like 10,000 each.
They might be in some cases. So one of the issues here is that Destiny is right about everything, but also like there's a moral concern that a lot of people aren't talking about. So, like, everything Destiny said about scalping is completely correct. Is like when you have these low-priced goods, you have this huge mismatch between quantity supply and quantity demanded, and the scalpers are coming in here. But the problem here is that you have this constant attacks against scalping because this offends people's sense of justice, and it might be kind of reasonable. Like, we have to ask ourselves, do we want a society where live music is just a privilege of like the best off, or do we want to see like diverse communities say come to here?
Yeah, but the problem is you're not exactly. The problem is people are deluding themselves into thinking how they're going to fix the problems. And because of how scalpers work, people are able to externalize all of the blame onto the scalpers and pretend that they were just disappear would fix the problem.
This goes back to me saying that there would still be people that are mad. They would just have a more like understanding kind of mad. If you're mad, like there are these fucking yesterday, we spent about 6 hours driving around Miami, going to these different stores that sell these certain collectibles. And there are people that are doing like live streams, getting there at the stores open, doing live streams with a cart full of every item and doing like live auctions. Like, okay, this for a finder's fee, send me the money. Cool, confirm this item is whatever. You have 10,000 pages of these collectors on fucking TikTok and whatever, showing the hauls they get, doing resellers. There are Facebook groups for all of this stuff. And when you see that, and you know that in like a metropolitan area like this, there are tons of those people that are out there going, your chances are going to be higher to get it as a normal collector, as someone who's just a fan of the product, if you don't have to compete against that. Now, if you go there and it's like, hey, these go really fucking fast, it's like, yeah, they're in hot demand, there's low supply. They understand that. I've talked to these fucking people who collect these items, and they get that. But then when it's like they're watching the fucking scalpers and the resellers and all this other shit, that is, to me, like an understandable, like, target for anger. As far as the fans, they're going to be irrational people. I'm not saying everyone's fucking, a saint and going to be just like, well, shucks, a fan got it. They might still be butthurt, but at the very least, it's, fans are getting the product, not people that are just looking to create an unnecessary secondary market.
It's not unnecessary, and I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing I said earlier. None of what you just said changed a single thing I said earlier. It's still fans getting it ultimately. Who do you think scalpers sell to?
Why don't you give a shit about fans being able to get it at the reasonable price without going through secondary markets.
Why do you think that it's reasonable?
No,
that
why
the only
don't you
way
care about it? No, why don't you care about it?
Because they can't. Because having a crap shot of spamming F5 on something to buy something isn't any more fair than just saving up a little bit more money and buying it. I don't know how you can think that if anybody's never just tried to buy
limited products, so then only the rich people are going to get it.
And as opposed to only the lucky people, you think that's more fair? What?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's not. The answer is no. That's not true. If you're seeing a Taylor Swift concert, you're already probably decently wealthy. You're already decently well off. If you can spend and save $100 extra,
I'm not
that's
talking
probably
about
more
me.
fair than
I'm talking about
spamming
the general
F5 for
public.
it.
I'm talking about the general public.
No, I'm not saying. I don't mean you personally. I just mean
Destiny?
What?
Do you think that the lottery is unfair? Do you think that only rich people should play the lottery? Like.
Well, the price on the lottery is fixed. Nobody can scalp that, right?
Well, yeah, but the rich people have better access to buying more tickets, so they have more of a chance of winning. So therefore, they should use their wealth to play the lottery more, right?
Yeah, but it's not.
But the price is still fixed. It doesn't matter.
It's also you're not ever getting your money back because of how the lottery is priced out. But yeah,
what we have here is
here's a simple point though, is that the scalping and the price gouging is actually occurring on the bigger events at the bigger venues, right? So that's already right there. You're talking about a privilege. You're talking about something that's going to be higher profile, much more attention, much more marketing around, etc. Right?
Yeah, but when the tool tickets were $75 and then the tool tickets get marked up to $250 right away, like the day it launches, all I'm saying is, yeah, maybe there should be a little government intervention where it's like, okay, cool. The distributors of the tickets, the original distributors that the artists and the production company and the venue partner with, those people, the tickets have to stay on there. Buying with bots is illegal. All that stuff. You do that, boom. What? I'm sorry. What is the harm in that?
What if you're a huge fan and you decide that you want to save up an extra $50 for a ticket, and now you can't because it's listed at some retard price, and now there's probably even less of a chance of a person buying it and going because they originally listed tickets for like $20, and now it's like, oh well, fuck, well some retard bought it, he might forget about it. Like,
okay.
Hold on. Well, I'm going to respond to that. Hold on. I'm going to respond to that because I've actually run into this problem because they do have restrictions on buying bulk tickets these days. And I've run into the problem of wanting to buy tickets for my friends so we can all go to the same event. And I can't do it because now they have those kinds of restrictions. And so you got to go and do the whole gaming the system kind of thing, right? And use like multiple IPs and, try and hit it from different browsers and stuff, right? In order to buy all the tickets at once for your friends who are going to chip into a pot, which complicates things and makes a mess for those of us who actually want to legitimately purchase those tickets for fans.
Okay, then you can't. I don't know. I remember being told when I was a kid that scalping was illegal in Cleveland.
Bro, I am so sorry. My God, I made these jokes earlier about entitlement. Over the months, I've made jokes about entitlement. Like these things. I'm so sorry, you guys. Why is a rich person more entitled to consumer goods? Yeah, motherfucker. That it's money. Yeah, it's in a consumer society where you're buying consumer goods. It's the rich people that get most of the shit. That's how it works. No shit, Sherlock. We're not talking about medicine. We're not talking about your home. We're not talking about food. We're talking about Taylor Swift concert tickets. You retarded bastard. No shit. The richer people get more shit. What, are you retarded? What the point of money? No shit, Sherlock. Holy shit. We're talking about Taylor Swift tickets and Funko Pops. Oh my God.
A lot of them are going to be bought ahead of time by scalpers that have found various ways to game the system. Used to be back in the day, they had networks of people that would go and buy them at the ticket booths, right? And then these days they're using bots. And so they know that this stuff is going to happen. They know they're going to find ways and loopholes and stuff like that. And so they factor that in and rein the price in because of that. So it seems like the ticket pricing does factor in some amount of the scalping being a problem and that it's going to happen.
I think that your audience is stupid, Steven. Because if they are upset with me saying that I think that there should be something done to kind of curb this issue, and they're calling it communism. Okay, cool. Then what other consumer protection things are communism? Oh yes, well, I mean, it helps companies make money to lie to their to lie in commercials and to lie in their advertising.
If somebody's willing to pay, if somebody's willing to pay a particular price for a thing, and somebody's going to list it way lower than that price, there's always going to be people doing arbitrage. That's an unstoppable reality of
and
any
I'm not
market.
saying every instance of this should be taken out. But I think concerts are one of the biggest issues, and I don't see an issue with trying to curb that.
Because one, there's no way to really do it. There's always going to be scalpers if you're listing your tickets. Such
instances that could significantly curb it.
Yeah, you might be able to slow it down a little bit, but at the end of the day, if people are willing to pay more for it, there's no reason not to just list it at a higher price. Going to a concert is not a human right. It's not like a.
I'm not saying it is. I'm literally saying that I acknowledge there is a limited number of people who are going to be able to do this. In general, even paying $75 for a ticket is going to, create a barrier to entry for a lot of folks, right? So you have that right off the bat. There are going to be a limited number of seats because these theaters are, these stadiums only have 10,000, 25,000 seats, depending on how the size of the stadium and how things are set up. I understand there's limitations there. All I'm saying is, yeah, maybe we should make it take a little bit longer before the secondary market can kick in and give people a fair shot at getting a ticket. I don't see a problem with that.
Stop saying fair shot. You're lying. That. It's not a fair shot at getting the ticket. It's whoever has the ability to sit at their computer and spam the refresh faster. That's no more fair than it's less fair than somebody who can spend more money on it. It's not even fair.
With the bot network, someone who gets into AWS, sets up several accounts with unique IP addresses and goes ahead and starts buying rapid fire tickets.
Hey, listen, at least that guy went through some effort. That's more
a little
fair
less
than
fair, isn't it?
If anything,
you're against Kamala Harris's policies, right, Stephen? Steven, you're against Kamala Harris's policies on housing, where she's trying to ban certain people, outside investors, from owning homes.
We're not talking about homes here.
Whoa! Just own you, bro.
I thought
you're against Kamala Harris, aren't you? Don't you think that the right price is whatever people are willing to pay for a home?
Don't you hate Airbnb because it's doing this shit?
Steven just got pissed on.
Owned.
Oh, and he's gone.
So homes aren't the same, obviously, because there's an inelastic demand for housing. That is kind of a right. We should have places to live in too. There is a super limited supply of an inelastic demanded good. It's a different type of thing. Yeah.
And by the way, some bands actually do make the effort to provide an early access means for the diehard fans to get their tickets. Like I remember when Mr. Bungle did their reunion tour a few years ago, they did that where you could go and sign up on their website and get an account on there and pre-order through an authenticated account to get the tickets ahead of time. And they did multiple runs of it because there were people still creating accounts and finding loopholes through that to get the tickets and find a way to scalp them. But
Taylor Swift, there's certain songs I can't listen to anymore because in order to get those early access tickets, you had to rack up points through listening to songs. Like you connected your YouTube account to your Ticketmaster account, and you had to listen to it over and over and over again to get those fucking points.
Sounds like a bit of a cult.
Well, I mean, it was an attempt to keep to let the quote unquote real fans get the tickets, right? And to be able to have a pick of a good seat without it ending up on the second market.
So the real fans are the people that just sit on Chrome all day, just spam listening to the song.
Dude, real fan. Background fucking muted, and then just every few minutes refresh.
You just have the auto refresher in there. That's all you need. Set up the auto refresher. Set the thing to refresh at the same length as the song.
Was that around? I wonder if that was around during the Reputation tour. But either way,
I'm sure it was.
I think what's frustrating to me is your viewpoint, Steven, seems to only be and I am a fucking diehard capitalist, all right? But it just seems to be
it. Sounds a bit communist to me.
Fuck you. But it's there's no part of you that seems to give a fuck. You're just no, fuck you. It's not right. Fuck you. There's no.
Because it's not a right. It's super. I don't. In this case,
no one's
around. Hold on. Around highly elastic, purely consumerist goods. No, this is just entitlement. The idea that you have a right to buy some incredibly limited supply thing at some artificially low price is just the most crybaby entitlement you've ever heard in my entire life. It's insane to me.
I'm not saying that anyone has a right to buy it.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying I have a right to try to buy it and not compete with certain things that are unfairly advantaged.
Okay, that's fine. Buying. You're saying what's unfair for you might be more fair for somebody else. Like an ordinary guy that's working a 9 to 5 who has like a real job, for him, it might be easier for him to save an extra $50 for a ticket than for him to sit at home all day long spamming F5 on a website, praying to God that he can be the first one to refresh the page because he's got a normal job to work, right? So what's fair to one person might not be fair to another. And you're just arbitrarily saying that like, well, the guy that can spam the refresh on the page, that's way more fair than a guy who might just work like a couple hours extra and be able to just afford like a higher price ticket.
It was annoying, obnoxious thing. I was just bringing that up as an example of something that was done to try to curb the issue. I didn't say that's the fucking way. Jesus.
Okay, well, listen, the only thing that solves it, raise the prices, and then all the scalpers are gone.
Not
Boom,
the only
easy.
thing that solves
so
it.
Easy.
Limitations on what these websites can do.
Well, raising the prices again, like for me, I mean, not to. I feel like maybe moving the goalposts here. I'm not trying to, but like I don't give a fuck about Taylor Swift concerts. But I think it's a problem when it's happening at like what used to be $20 local shows that are now $60, $70, $80 like local shows that like. You just, it's stupid. This is like, you know, bands that I don't really know, and I'm not going to pay that kind of money for that the concerts are suffering for.
Listen, it's a 3-hour drive north for me. You're telling me that if I go to Orlando, I'm going to find local shows that are selling tickets for $70 a pop and they're empty? No. Is this really happening? I'm going to be honest. I'm at a local show. I've got a Sokol Auditorium in Omaha like 25 years ago. So maybe it's different now, but you're telling me that I can go up to Orlando and I can find venues where the tickets are $70 each or whatever and it's fucking empty? There's nobody in there?
I think so I saw Alisana at a venue like last year, and I think the tickets were like $50 a pop or $60 a pop, and like it was like me and 3 other guys in the pit, and it was like, oh yeah, like the venue was empty. And it's like, how is this happening? There are people out front like trying to sell tickets and shit like this, but like it's empty. And this isn't
I don't believe you. You're lying. I don't believe you. That there are that these scalpers have so much money. They're not even scalpers at this point. They're just trolls. You're telling me that these guys are buying up the tickets so no one else can buy them, eating a massive $10,000 loss in front of the venue, and then it's empty inside just to troll you and fuck with your friends? At that point, it sounds like you've made enemies, dog. Like it sounds like you just have people that hate you or that hate the band.
I think what it is that it's the people who do this for every single event, and like they can take a loss on any, you know, like a couple events here and there because they just make so much money off of the other ones that it doesn't really matter.
So the scalping happens on the bigger venues because that's where you make the money. There's just not any money in scalping on a small show.
You do it at all of them. Like if you're a business,
because your time is money. Why would you waste time on these small venues that don't make you any money?
Well, because
you go and scalp for a bigger venue.
Business
they're going on all the time.
Doing all of it. Like you're not just like you can, if you have bots set up, then you don't need to like sit there and hit F5 and buy 100 tickets.
No,
you can just have it set up to buy all of the events at these venues.
So first of all,
then you wouldn't be making any money.
The small venues aren't using all the ticketing sites. The small venues, oftentimes, you're buying the tickets locally there, or they're using sometimes some of these smaller ticketing sites. But it's not the same thing. Like the scalping, the real issue with scalping is with the big venues because that's where people will pay for it. People won't pay for it for the small venues. That stuff is little local gigs, right? So that stuff is what people pay $10, $15, $25 for. And they're not going to blow $50, $60, $70 for it, and scalpers know that, and that'd be a huge waste of their time and money to do that. So I don't know, maybe that was a weird one-off experience or something, but I've never experienced that, and I do live music all the time, so I don't know, maybe you live in a bubble kind of environment where that kind of
I would
thing
say
happens.
that example is the extreme, but I have felt like that overall, like shows have been emptier and emptier, like just in a general sense.
You should talk to the venue owners or whoever manages it. Like, it's not scalping. 0% chance. You wouldn't make any money doing it. These people would be out of business. Who would scalp at a loss constantly? Like, that's like the worst criminal ever.
I one question. The guy that bought all those supplies at the start of the pandemic, and they confiscated that entire storage unit full of shit. Do you have a problem with that, Steven?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay. All right.
Do you think that hoarding necessities during pandemics is the same thing as somebody relisting Taylor Swift or PS5s?
They bought them up to resell them.
They were, yes, that's called price gouging. And I think there are federal crimes against that. Yes, as they should be.
Are you okay with
yes,
that's what
I am
I'm saying.
okay
You're
with that. Yes,
that.
yes. Relisting vital, inelastic goods during pandemics or other catastrophes, I think is a bad thing. Yes. I don't think it's comparable to PS5s and Taylor Swift tickets and
I'm
Funko
not saying
Pops.
it's comparable.
Okay.
I'm just saying you're not consistently applying your principle on reselling.
Especially when you have consistent messaging from news stations and the government saying that you need these things or should have these things, the masks and the hand sanitizer, which are the two things that guy was hoarding.
Debate one.
So Lycan, yourself as a diehard Swiftie with a Taylor Swift tattoo on his right pec.
How'd you know about
that? When you paid that $600 for the show, how much of a markup was that?
For the seats that I got, $400, I think.
Woof. That is huge.
I was right next to the fucking stage.
Wow. God damn. So, since we've established today that you're a socialist, does that make you a champagne socialist?
I'm not a socialist. I'm not trying to, say that the tickets should be given out for fucking free or that there should be price controls on tickets. If an artist wants to price their tickets at $1,000 a ticket for fucking nosebleeds, fuck yeah, do it. Don't give a shit. I'll think they're a shitty person, but I fully believe they have the right to do that. All I'm saying is there should be some market protections or consumer protections built into the market. And I'm not even saying that people shouldn't be able to resell. I just think that they should. There should be some limits, and people who want to buy it at retail should get a fair shot to do so. And I'm not even saying like someone dipshit in chat said,
Please specify when you say fair shot, you mean whoever has the fastest computer and internet connection and lowest latency.
Yes, I do think that is a fairer shot. So I'm sorry, we can't get to the perfect. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good, Steven.
Well, there's nothing fair. There's nothing intrinsically more fair about that than somebody that's just willing to pay more for the ticket. So you say
it is a little more. Yes, if you take out the people who have an unfair advantage and are able to get more, who aren't buying it because they want to enjoy the good, yeah, I think that you're making it fair for the fans.
Who buys from the scalpers?
I'm sorry, I don't know why you jumped to that point, because my point is being able to buy at retail. So the more chances to buy at retail. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're saying it's okay. Okay, gotcha.
Here's where I see sort of maybe a little bit of a gap. The consumers make the market, right? So the fact that, like, for example, I don't want to like demonize you here, but like you paid the $400 markup on that. So that meant that there was somebody there willing to buy that, and that created that demand.
So I want to be clarify real quick. I got the tickets on normal way for the Reputation tour. It was the Eras tour that I had to do this because despite previous standing with the Taylor Swift organization and that having promised that there would be available tickets, you can go read the news articles about how they fucked it up. And I ended up having to buy from a scalper to get a ticket. So normally...
Oh, you didn't have to. You didn't have to buy it.
No. And I'm not even saying like, I'm part of the problem. I'm fucking contributing to the issue by doing this. It's like, it was the only way to get it, but I don't think these should be around.
Keep in mind then, hold on real quick, keep in mind that if that scalper didn't exist, you probably wouldn't have went, right?
And that's fine, because I can afford to buy through the scalpers, but there are plenty of people who can't.
Sure, but I'm saying that when you're talking about like the fans, if that scalper didn't exist, you wouldn't have gone to that, because it probably would have sold to somebody else cheaper.
Yeah, that like doesn't
feel
I'm
okay
bad.
with that.
Like, I think everyone's okay with that.
Why would you be okay with that? Why are you okay? You're missing the show either way. Why does that matter?
Because at least at that point, like, I know that it's not like some scumfuck way of like the artists that I love like being successful. It's like people who want to go. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh man, I lost out because I just don't have the money to do it. Instead, it's like, oh, people who love it just as much as I do are going. So like, there's a silver lining of, well, at least the artist that I like is like seeing success.
I don't believe anybody thinks like this. I don't think so. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that there's some guy sitting at home and all of his friends got to go to the Blink-182 Newfound Glory Good Charlotte concert, and he's like, man, I'm so sad that I couldn't get tickets, but at least I know another real fan is there enjoying the fucking show. I don't believe this. I don't believe anybody in the history of anything ever sold like that has ever thought that some kid is at home while all of his friends are playing Gears of War 65 or whatever on their PS5. He's like, God, I didn't get a PS5, but at least I know another guy got it, and he's probably enjoying the online play right now. I don't believe it.
I think this is a straw man. Like, I'm not talking about that level of Zen altruistic mentality. I'm just talking about people having the best chance. David Chang, when he released his, I think, noodle bar, the only way to get a reservation, you couldn't cajole, you couldn't use connections, there was nothing you could fucking do. His own parents had to wait like a year to get into his restaurant. The only way you could do it was to log in on Tuesday and hit that fucking button and try to get your first seats. Like, there was no influence that could get you in there. I think overall, while obnoxious, that was the fairest system possible for a very hot restaurant for people to get access to. It was first come, first serve to a fucking T. So I like that. And I think that kind of should be applied to some of these Ticketmaster situations, StubHub situations.
Good point, Lycan. Steven, did you try to distinguish the homes things by saying that homes are inelastic? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Don't you think these tickets are inelastic goods?
Nope.
Yes or no? They're not?
They're not.
But you just were given a bunch of evidence that showed that as the price goes up, quantity demanded doesn't really change. So you would agree they're inelastic, right?
Okay, Mr. Lawyer Boy, careful, all right? Because now we're on the econ finance.
Oh, yes?
The quantity the quantity demanded doesn't seem to go down as the price goes up because the initial equilibrium point was not reached. The reason why the quantity demanded appears to be the same is because the supply was never set correctly. If somebody makes 1,000 things that people are willing to pay $100,000 for, and they list them at $10,000, and then they make 20,000 things, and people still pay, whatever price for it, it's not because you could set the price as high as you want. What it means is the initial supply, the pricing was never set initially at an equilibrium point. So you.
So wait a second. So you think that if there were unlimited supply of these Taylor Swift tickets and they set them at like, I don't know, $800, you don't think that you would have, a pretty inelastic good there?
Hold on. Can you, when you say inelastic good, wait a second. When you say inelastic good, what do you mean when you say that? Let me just.
Yeah, that as price goes up, the quantity demanded doesn't change a lot.
No, the quantity demanded would absolutely change. I don't think concert tickets are an inelastic good. No. So if you increase the price to a certain level, people are going to stop paying for it. Of course.
Really? You sure about that?
I
Yes.
have a question for you.
Hold on. Let him finish writing down this. Yeah, wait. The answer is obviously
yes.
yes.
About that?
If you sell Taylor Swift tickets for $1 million each, you're only going to sell like 2. Or maybe, actually for Taylor Swift.
Do you think that insulin an inelastic good?
Insulin is an inelastic good, yes. Generally speaking, yeah.
Okay. Is there like a shortage, and there can be shortages there can be like limited supplies of things that are still inelastic goods, right?
Elasticity has nothing to do with the supply of a thing, but yes.
Well, isn't that your argument for why it is that these are just appear to be inelastic tickets? That it's because the supply is like, I don't know, low? Can you explain in one sentence why these are not inelastic goods?
Hold on. Elasticity. Hold on. Elasticity refers to how much you would expect the quantity demanded of a particular thing to change along a given price curve. If the price increases, but the demand is still relatively the same through a price increase, now at some point you're going to hit a cliff and people just can't afford it. But if the price is not very responsive, or if the demand is not very responsive to an increase in price, you would say that is an inelastically demanded good, right? For tickets, the reason why it appears to be inelastic is because there is a pricing error and an actual market equilibrium hasn't been reached because the price is set artificially low. That means that you can increase the price more and more until you would hit whatever your actual supply constraints are, where your market equilibrium would be, and you won't see any trade-off in terms of sales. That's why scalpers
what would I need
exist.
to do to show that tickets are inelastic goods? What would I need to do to demonstrate that?
Pull up the clip of him saying that poor people are dog shit with money.
True.
He if
it's true. I know that bothers you, but that's true. But it makes you feel better. Middle class people are even worse with money.
To go to the concert.
Yeah. So what would you have to show? I don't know. You would have to show that you can set the price it's hard because there's such a limited supply of these tickets.
It's hard. Okay. All right.
Please go. No. All right. Let me get. Pisco, here's the killer example. If Taylor Swift said she was doing a free concert, open invitation to anyone that wanted to show up, what do you think that crowd would look like?
A free concert?
Yeah. Free concert.
I assume there would be a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's me answering your question.
But if you did a concert where tickets were $5,000 each, it probably wouldn't be 3 million people.
Okay, but I could say that about any good. Like if insulin were free, if there was a giving away event of insulin, how many people do you think would show up there? More than how many people are buying it, right?
Not that. Do you think I would go to a free insulin event? Would you go to a
You
Free Insulin
might.
event? Do you have
You
diabetes?
might go to a free insulin
Oh
event.
my God.
Wait. Are cigarettes inelastic goods?
No, cigarettes seem to be quite elastic.
You think that? You really think that? Aren't
seem to
cigarettes
respond-
like
they
one of
seem
the
to
prime examples of inelastic
They're
goods?
fairly
No.
inelastic, but keep in mind,
No.
Hold on, no,
there's
wait.
no such thing.
Wait, stop! No! It seems to be the case that when you tax the of certain things, even sugar, it seems to be that impacts the demand of that particular thing. So no, cigarettes don't seem to be an inelastic.
I'm not saying that inelasticity, like just because a good is inelastic doesn't mean that quantity demanded won't go down at all. It's just that it's a different, it's like a smaller amount than you would expect.
Sure. There's going to be, there's a range
cigarettes
for
are
it.
inelastic goods and ticket sales are inelastic goods.
Okay. So you guys can engage. I'm not getting trolled by Pisco. Go ahead.
I'm not trolling. All right. And back to the housing example. I mean, this is just, it's a luxury to own a home. All right. It's absolutely a luxury. You could just rent. Isn't that your advice? Just rent?
Only if you're black or Hispanic.
Listen, because what you should be saying is, yeah, I'm okay with private foreign investment, foreign direct investment or whatever it is, buying up all these homes because that's whatever, and you don't need to buy a house. You could just rent.
As long
Isn't
as,
that the right
if
answer?
There's enough Chinese
you should be
FDI,
against
correct.
Kamala Harris's policies.
I am.
Don't meme your way out of this.
I'm not.
You know you're in a box right now. You're in a
the
box.
most about Kamala Harris ever since I found out she's not black. I can't call her the N-word anymore on stream. It's about. I'm fully not supporting her anymore. I'm not.
Oh my God.
Okay. Where were we?
I don't know. I think you're aggressive to the opposition in a way that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
Yeah, because
it's
they're
clear a
aggressive
different-
against-
Well, hold up.
Okay.
Let me explain. I think it's a
You're
different
just-
perspective. Like, you are looking at it from what you believe is an economic perspective. I am looking at it from a consumer perspective.
No, you're not.
And I am.
No, you're not. Because in ways,
How
what you're
am I
saying
not?
is anti-consumer.
What? I'm sorry.
Are you
How?
a consumer of Taylor Swift?
Rabid.
Yes. So you benefited as a consumer from a scalper. Yes.
I did.
And the thing
Do I
that you're
think that I should
positing,
have?
it doesn't matter what you think, if you should or shouldn't have. You benefited as a consumer. If you would have said that the particular scalper that you bought it from was not allowed, you would have been hurt as a consumer. So for you to say that everything you're saying is strictly beneficial to the consumer and everything I'm saying is strictly not beneficial to the consumer, it's just not true. It's just a misframing of everything for some moralizing Reddit argument.
Mine improves the. I'm sorry. If you have a ticket, you have a venue that's going to sell 10,000 tickets. Period. No one else is getting in, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. If my solution is to ensure that the maximum number of people can buy as many seats as possible for the retail rate, how does mine not benefit more consumers? Because that's what I see as the biggest goal, is ensuring that people get to buy the tickets at the listed rate.
Why does it matter? Why does the listed rate have to be so low?
Because consumers, no matter your plan or my plan, consumers are going to go to these concerts, right? So that's the baseline. Everyone's getting to go to the fucking show.
Then why sell it for anything? Why not just have it for free? Why not just open every single venue for free?
That's a thought terminating.
Well, how is it thought terminating? Wait, why not just make it free so that you're guaranteed that everybody's in there? No?
Because obviously the tickets have to be sold. The people need to make money. The people need to get paid.
Well, wait, if people need to make money, people need to get paid. Why not just make them a little bit more expensive?
Why not just make it more expensive? Because that hurts the fucking consumer, Steven.
How does it hurt the consumer? They're paying for it anyway. They're buying it anyway.
Why? Okay, I'm sorry. If I could save, I could have not put that $400 extra into my ticket. That would have been great. And there are people that are in worse circumstances that would like to go see these fucking shows. And your view of just, well, it doesn't matter. Concerts are a luxury, so it should be paid whatever. I'm more in agreement with you there when it comes to fucking DoorDash. Like, pay the fucking people what they need to be paid to can run your groceries and make it a luxury thing that only certain people can fucking afford to do. I'm fine with that. But when it comes to the concerts, I am saying that I want the maximum number of people to be able to buy at retail. Baseline is that consumers are getting these products either way, whether it's through fucking Ticketmaster or StubHub. They are getting this either way. So the response of like taking away StubHub hurts the consumer. No, it doesn't, because they would still be able to get their tickets through this. There's a limited number that's going to be purchased.
Sure, that's fine. This is called communism, and it doesn't work in the real world.
It's
It
not
has never worked.
communism.
It is communism. Yes, it's communism.
I'm
It is
saying they can
communism.
set their fucking
It
price.
is communism.
There's a limit.
It is communism. You're literally talking about a command economy. You're talking about taking a scarce good, setting it at an arbitrarily low price, and pretending that it's going to be available to all of society.
Steven, in my solution, they could still set the price at $1,000 fucking dollars. They can still make their VIP tickets $3,000.
You want the price set so low that there's still going to be the ability for scalpers to profit, but you're going to try to find a way to make scalpers not profit because you want to make it available to to everybody. And by everybody, you mean just the people that are lucky enough to happen to luck into the tickets. There's no way to do this. This is an unsolvable problem. It can't be solved. Concerts are a luxury good. There's only a limited amount of space, and you can only perform so many times. That's it. Not every single person in all of society will have access to concerts. I'm sorry, they just won't. Just the same way that not every single person in society will have access to super yachts, to fucking plastic surgery, to fucking...
How is that
Auto blow
analogous to anything I'm
7,000s.
saying? Do you
It's
think I'm saying
exactly what I'm
anything
saying. It's
that's
exactly what you're
crazy?
saying. Not everybody will have access to every single luxury good in society. It's not possible. It's not possible to make that happen.
That's fine. Wait, I'm sorry. Again, I'll go back to they can set the ticket price at any price they want. Ticketmaster can do it. They can charge their exorbitant fees all they fucking want. If Ticketmaster wants to start, pumping it up to $300 per fucking ticket just for the pleasure of buying through their website, fine. I think that's a little insane, but it's their right to do it. Fucking,
so then how are you trying to benefit consumers specifically if you're saying
because these artists aren't doing
is?
that? Because these artists aren't trying to mark their shit up that fucking high. These artists aren't benefiting from the StubHub sales in that because their ticket already got bought. They're not getting more money because that ticket went for 300% markup.
Why?
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me wait, hold on. Artists don't get paid more based on how much money they sell via StubHub or whatever?
No. If someone buys the ticket from Ticketmaster, the artist gets that ticket price there.
No, hold on. If Ticketmaster sells a ticket for $10 or $1,000, the artist gets the same amount of money?
No. That's not what I said. I said when bought through Ticketmaster, the artist gets the price of that ticket. When that ticket then gets put on StubHub at a 300% markup, the artist gets none of that.
Oh, well then why not just sell it higher on Ticketmaster then? So the
Because
artist gets more money.
is already saying, I don't want to sell it for that price.
Okay, then sell it for whatever and then let the secondary market deal with it. You don't have a right to tell people what they ultimately buy a thing for, what they ultimately value a thing at.
That has nothing to... I don't understand how you're connecting from what I'm saying to going to that, except just to fight me.
If I buy a ticket on Ticketmaster for $200 and everyone around me is like, man, I would have paid $10,000 for that ticket. Do I have a right to resell that ticket, or is that immoral for me to do that?
I think that if you as an individual are doing that, fine. Look, there are tiered approaches to this. Let's take out the box.
Wait, so you're okay with so you're okay with people that are scalping, just not the bot scalpers?
I'm saying that if you're going to throw things at me like that, I'll say, cool, fine. Let's get rid of the bots. You okay with that? If someone's allowed to buy 4 tickets max, right, and they can do it, and all the people do it, but we find that is a marked 20% reduction in numbers of tickets that end up on the scalping websites. I'd see that as a valuable improvement. So I say we make it illegal to use the bots. Are you okay with that?
Wait, what's the difference, or what's the point?
Because I just said that it made it 20% less tickets end up on StubHub, which means 20% more consumers got to buy at market value.
Okay, hold on. Would you be okay if there was one person with a bot that bought 1,000 tickets versus 1,000 scalpers that bought tickets to scalp? Are you more okay with the second scenario than the first scenario?
Yeah, that's assuming that there's going to be some.
Yeah, no, but let's assume there was. Would you be okay with the second scenario?
Well, no, answer my question first.
What? No, I don't think there should be any. I think they should be set higher initially. I don't think any kind of restriction like this.
No, that's not an answer to my question.
What? I don't think bot networks should be banned. No, it's the markets are always gonna. There's no way to even get ahead of that shit. It's a waste of resources to even try to get ahead of that shit.
Yeah, and you run into the same problem I brought up earlier, right?
Yeah, secondary markets. Let them sort themselves out. But would you be okay with 1,000 scalpers versus one scalper scalping 1,000 tickets? Would you be more okay with 1,000 scalpers versus the one scalper scalping 1,000 tickets?
Your question assumes that what I just set up, like there's going to be some balancing where now, because the bots are gone, a bunch more people are going to start buying that way.
I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
Not necessarily. We'd have to see it play out. So we start by banning the bot networks. We take some notes in the hypothetical I put together. I said there was a 20% reduction in numbers of tickets that end up on StubHub. So maybe it goes that route. Maybe we get to a point where it's like, there's really nothing we can do about it. So we took out the bots. We did make it at least harder. Greater barrier to entry to fuck the consumer over.
I mean, I'll bite the bullet if Lycan doesn't want to. I think it is better if it's done on a much smaller scale than a larger scale. And from the artist's perspective, I think the audience experience and their accessibility to the tickets matters to a lot of artists. And so having someone else being involved in whether or not their audience can have access to their tickets would be something that would bother a lot of
That's
artists.
great, but scalping has nothing to do with any of that. The access is the exact same. You're not making more access by banning scalpers. There's still just as many
the access. No, the access is different. It's talking about tiers. So there's certain people at certain tiers that wouldn't be able to afford tickets. So if it raises the price on tickets that I didn't actually set a price for, then it basically prices out a certain level of audience that I.
Then they're priced out. Then they can't go.
But I didn't choose to price them out. Some arbitrary person who has nothing to do with my business and the venue that I made a contract with has decided that price. That's the issue, Steven. If I want to set the price ticket at $2,000 and nobody shows up, that's my choice. If I want to set it at $50 and the venue agrees and then we set that price, then that's me doing that with my audience in mind.
Then go play in a bigger venue. There's a limited space. You don't own the space. Like, I mean, that's your choice. You're listing the space. That's how many people can hold. Like, what, I mean.
But then you run into, like, you literally then run into the housing problem because, like, let's say you're playing in a city. You have like small, medium, and large venues, but the difference between those small, medium, and large venues can vary so much. So you might not even be able to play at that city. So again, you're just increasing the barriers to entry for those people.
No, but the scalping is affecting the large venues, the large events, the large, draws.
I mean, it's
right?
affecting
the ones that are
every
going
event,
to sell out
though.
anyway.
It's not just affecting like the large ones; it's affecting it at every level.
Yeah, he's right. He's
No,
right. It's also a thing for even small venues. If the show's in demand, doesn't matter whether it's a small or large venue, the scalpers will be
Well,
present.
the ones that are selling out, that are guaranteed to sell out, those are the ones that are mostly affected by the scalping, right? So that's going to be the real issue there, which is typically going to be the bigger events. It's not usually going to be like your small local shows.
That's not right. People generally choose events with the idea of trying to sell out, and they generally choose even smaller events with the idea that they're going to be able to sell out. Normally, they'll choose a smaller event. They'll run multiple shows over the course of 2-3 days to guarantee that they're going to have at least multiple shows selling out, rather than choosing one big venue where they're at half capacity. So
I
even
don't know.
small
When I'm
venues sell out
going to
regularly.
when I'm going to local metal shows in like San Jose and stuff, I am not seeing people scalping for those shows.
Maybe they're just not that high in demand, but it's not because it's at a small venue that it's not in high demand. That's just.
Well,
None of us hold on. None of you guys aren't disagreeing. Nobody disagrees here. If you're going to sell out, then you're going to try to scalp it. Whether at a big, large, medium, or small venue, it's the ones that are selling out are the ones where you can make the most money. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the ones that sell out, but
Yeah.
just so I can better understand, who do you feel like this process benefits when they say they're using secondary sellers like scalpers and stuff like that? Who does this benefit?
People that are willing to spend more money to buy the tickets.
Okay, and who does it disadvantage, if anybody?
Anybody who would have gotten lucky enough to buy the ticket at the lower price initially.
Okay, do you also acknowledge that it may price out an audience that I think would be able to have access at the lower price but not the higher price?
I guess. But they're already priced out. I mean, you can try to artificially bring them in, but they're already basically priced out.
Right. So for me, it's also a PR hit, for example. So let's say I want to make my events affordable and accessible to people, and I set a certain price point with the idea that, listen, if you get them first, you can have them. As long as everyone just makes the same effort, whatever it is, then to me, that's much more of a positive PR spin for the artists themselves than if somebody comes in as a secondary scalper and then marks up the price.
Why not, at that point, why not just do like a lottery for tickets then for fans? Like literally have write in a letter about your favorite fucking song, and then you'll mail out tickets to 100 of the best submissions or some bullshit.
Was that a good faith reply to what I just said?
It was better faith than what you're saying, which is the spam F5 is the fair way to distribute tickets among poor people, pretending that poor people have some human right guarantee to attend a fucking concert. Yes, it was a much better, and not only that, mine is economically sound, and it's even better, more sound for the actual band themselves. Why not just sell the tickets at the price that they'd go for it? Now you eliminate the entire scalper problem completely, number one. Number two, you make more money, the venue makes more money, the roadies and everybody that's working with you makes more money, and three, you've got more fan engagement, so at least the people that are getting the tickets are the ones that actually took the time to actually write in a fucking letter and get something. Yeah, that's a better faith reply than just saying, oh, they should be listed at $5, and whoever spams F5 is the one that actually deserves the ticket. So yes, it was a good faith reply.
How is it more economically sound? That doesn't make any sense.
It's economically sound because if somebody's willing, I'm explaining it. Wait, you don't need to give an example. I can just tell you what it means. You don't need an example. It's more economically sound because if you're listing something way below what the market is willing to bear for it, then somebody's going to take advantage of that difference. It's more economically sound to sell at your equilibrium point.
I disagree. I think that economic sense, I mean, maybe in this specific example, but that doesn't take account for the entire economy.
Just to be clear, you disagree with that market equilibrium is a real thing? Is that what we're disagreeing with right now?
No, I think that if you charge, again, you already said that scalpers are rent-seeking behavior. So, ultimately, if you're spending an extra $400 on a ticket, wouldn't it make more economic sense to have that $400 be spent at a restaurant, be spent on Uber Eats or something that actually is, going into the overall economy? It doesn't make more economic sense.
Why would your money going into the tickets?
Sense.
Why would your money going into the ticket?
Because you're going to spend that money elsewhere. You're not going to, if you have $400 that's not going to a scalper, you're going to spend it elsewhere in your life.
Yes, you're doing a bastardized version of the broken windows fallacy, okay? It's not working here. You could just sell the ticket, the original ticket, for more money, and your money is going towards the venue and the artists and all the people working there. What do you mean?
Wait, just to be clear, when secondary sellers sell it, do you think that artists always get more money?
No, the artists are probably losing a lot of money, would be my guess.
Right. So the scalpers are the only ones who really benefit. Well, and then the people who weren't able to get the tickets and now they can afford, or they can't afford and they were able to get a secondary ticket. But generally speaking, the artist does not benefit financially from the fact that the scalpers are overselling their tickets.
No, they're hurting from that.
Right. Okay.
But they're hurting because they're not setting their prices high enough. They should just set their prices higher. The scalpers are winning because of bad pricing initially.
Okay. Let me ask you a different question. Do you think there's a PR nightmare involved, or do you think there's any kind of bad PR involved in overpricing the ticket?
I don't know if there would be or not. I don't know. Try it. See what happens. I mean,
So
there might be a little bit, but...
So you don't think artists really rely on relatability, and for a lot of them, at least in their core message, things that appeal to the everyday person? You don't think that them pricing out a lot of people who would otherwise be able to afford a reasonably level ticket wouldn't be hurt by the PR?
I mean, if they're
I can assure you that my brand and
a
lot of
we got an example right
would
here.
be really hurt by the fact that I was charging $600. I'm sure I could, and a certain caliber of people would be able to afford those, but a lot of people wouldn't, and that would hurt me. So not only is the secondary sale not going to me, the artist or the venue, the people who made the contractual agreement, but also I'm hurt from this from a PR standpoint because I'm made to look either unreasonable or these people are being taken advantage of, or they don't have the experience that I promised to a lot of my audience because of the fact that they're overcharging like crazy. So it's really bad for the artist economy, and I also think, well, I'll just go there.
Yeah, then I think that people need to be more honest in society and stop selling people lies. I think that'd be good. If I was to do a live event and only 50 people could come, those tickets would be priced really fucking high. And if somebody complained, I would say, hey, listen, there's only a limited number of spots available. Of course, I'm going to sell them for as much as they can go for, period. If you're trying to sell them for $10 each and you're like, well, I want to keep it relatable. But no, it's not relatable. You're lying. You're lying to your audience at that point. They can't afford it. They're priced out. That's a luxury good that they can't afford. That's it. And no amount of lies or rainbows or princesses and saying like, well, I think that everybody should. No, you can't. There's a limited number of space. You're a high demand service or good or whatever you're purchasing when it comes to a concert. Like, that's it. They should be honest about it. Like, you should be honest about it. Yeah, there's probably bad PR, but the bad PR is because people are telling lies to their audience that like it's just scalpers that make tickets expensive. No, it's not. It's a really popular artist that a lot of people want to see, and there's limited space in the venue.
Well, I think the problem that I see here is that there's sort of this. I think there's people convincing themselves that there's an expectation that they should be able to go to these popular events that are being preyed upon by scalpers. And like, I don't know, when I just think about it from my perspective, when I was poor, I didn't go to big events. I went to little small events that, had local bands that nobody really knew except for, that we could get in for $5 or something, right? I couldn't even dream of going and seeing Metallica or something because I couldn't possibly afford that. It was just way out of my price range. So if you can't afford to go to a higher price show because the scalpers are making it too expensive for you, that's just part of the market, right? That's the way that works. And that's the way it's always been. Like even going back decades, we've had this problem the whole time. It's part of the market. It's like a secondary market on top of it, right? You don't have to go to that show. You can go to local shows and support local bands and help build them up.
People don't want to do that. They want to go see artists that they think are worth watching.
But also, when you go to local shows,
people
and then
want
that band gets
Lamborghinis
big,
but can't afford them, right? But should we price down the Lamborghinis so everybody can have them?
But what happens when you go to that local show and then the band blows up and now you can't afford their tickets? Like, I think that that's where my issue is like, it's kind of dumb because like, I've been here the whole time. Like, I was here at the 10 people shows and at the 100 people shows, and now it's like stadiums and it's like, oh, I can't afford it. Like, not that I'm more deserving of a ticket, but just like, I think that's what Ab was talking about when he's like, when you want to maintain that audience, that would make you part of the core audience, but now they're getting priced out. Like,
well,
but don't you want to maintain that vibe?
In a way,
like, isn't that what made the art?
If you get bigger and you get to the point where you're selling out shows and suddenly you become a target for building onto a market that you don't have control over, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to control what happens with your audience. You've broken beyond those bounds, right? You admit that, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like there's also just like there's no like happy middle ground to just have it kind of be, if we banned botting, like it would be actually available to like at least have some portion of that core audience. Because I'm not saying that everyone who's a part of that core audience needs to go, but like you're not even getting like a fraction of that core audience that like made the vibes, successful for the artist in the first place.
Well, how do you ban botting without running into the very problem that I mentioned earlier, where I was trying to buy a batch of tickets for my friends so we could all go to the same show together?
Well, I think there's a difference between buying 4 tickets and 100 tickets or 1,000 tickets.
Well, they were restricting us to buying, I think at the time it was 2 tickets per person. And I was trying to buy for a grand total, I think, of 8 of us or something around that. And I was having to go and jump through hoops to make that happen. And and that was just based on their IP restrictions. So I was effectively having to do the botting type of strategy to get those tickets for my friends. If they go and try to come up with more clever means of banning botting, that prevents me from even getting that together. And it's very difficult to organize people for an event like that and get it all together so everybody can show up to it. And that was an event with like assigned seating and everything. So we wanted everybody to be together for that show. So these things, if you start implementing these things, they have a way of down the road screwing over people who are not actually trying to take advantage and fuck people over and make money off of it, but of actually, of like screwing over the people who are the actual fans and going there to see the show.
All right. Another question. Would you guys be against it if people developed ways to stop scalpers? And let's say, for example, requiring the ID and whatever thing to be, let's say at the time of buying a ticket, I had to provide an ID and some form of identification. And that upon entering the venue, I'd have to provide the exact same ID in order to be able to get in. Would you guys be against something like that? If this is a means by which they can make sure whoever buys a ticket at purchase is the exact same person who bought it, who showed up with it upon arrival.
Still kind of screws you over for the bulk purchasing for friends, though.
Sure, I mean, it would require some more level of coordination, but that's not my question. People can make the effort if they want to. The question is, would you guys be against those kinds of things that would stop scalpers if the artist and the venue got together to make that happen?
And whatever the artist and venue want to do to manage their own business, it's up to them, right? But people constantly going and blaming everything on scalpers, like, oh my God, they screwed me out of a ticket and everything. It just seems like a waste of energy. Like, well, what's the point? Come on, that's part of the market. Do you actually need to go to that concert if you couldn't afford it? Why not support your small local band that doesn't have the name recognition?
Because they're not emotionally attached to the local band. Nobody gives a fuck about the local band's music because they don't play that every day when they're home, when they're going through things. They're playing stuff that they've been hearing for a long time that really spoke to them. And a lot of these artists that are bigger on a bigger scale make music that appeals to people because it's music that connects with them. These guys on a local, well, I know you might appreciate them, but most of us don't care to see guys who it's their part-time job and they're just not that good. I just don't care to we'll pay money to go watch them.
But that's
so
part
obviously
of the
everyone's going to want to
privilege,
invest
right?
money into artists.
Just because it's a privilege doesn't mean we can't make it better for the consumer.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's dog shit for the consumer right now.
Well, it depends on the consumer, right?
Well, no one's saying that. Again, I feel like we're now going in circles. No one is saying that everyone is going to get it. No one is. I just don't see the same like consumer who thinks the straw man of the consumer that thinks that like it was just because of the scalpers that I didn't get a ticket. I don't think that the majority of people are thinking that. I think that they see that as one of the biggest problems because so many fucking tickets end up there. Like the Ticketmaster site is sold out the fucking day the tickets go live, and then after that, weird. The only way to get these is fucking StubHub, and there are tons of tickets there from every fucking section. Gee, I wonder where the fucking issue is.
I mean, it's a market that exists because people pay into it. So as long as there's people who are willing to pay into it and pay that extra marked up price, that market's going to exist. If the venues want to work on strategies to mitigate that or rein it in a bit, then by all means, whatever they want to do. But if they end up doing things that end up further penalizing the actual fans who are going there to try and buy tickets for themselves and their friends so they can go see the show, then that kind of sucks.
I don't know. I don't know if this has been done. Like maybe some solution is that, the ticket, like buying the ticket comes with an agreement, and like these tickets cannot be sold on reseller websites at rates higher than retail. Something like that. I don't know if that's ever been done or how that would be enforced.
Don't they already do this with some? I feel like when I saw Louis C.K. in Madison Square Garden, when you buy the tickets, it's like emailing you like a fucking barcode with your name and everything on it. I don't know how you even resell these, but maybe there are ways to do it. I don't know.
You send the email?
Yeah, they don't check
You
your
poured
ID or anything.
Yeah. I think Taylor Swift and a few others have been trying to combat scalping. And I guess my question was just like, do you have a problem with that, Destiny? That they're trying to stop that?
You can do what you want. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I mean, like, you're never, ever, ever going to solve scalping if you're setting your tickets at such a low price. It's always going to be an issue, and people can complain and cry about it all they want, but it will never go away.
The question, I'm not saying you can solve it 100%, but if they can even reduce it to a great amount, you don't have an issue with them doing that, correct?
I guess not. No, I mean, if they're able to do it.
Did we fight about this before?
It comes up every now and then. It's one of my anti-consumer takes. You can trigger my audience on. I can weed out the commies. So,
are you? Because it seems like a lot of your audience agreed with you.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't know. Were you getting one guide earlier? Because by looking at my replies, I think the majority of the audience agrees with you.
Pretty sure it's like if the majority agrees with me, it's like 51%. My guess right now is that it's probably 50-50 or 40-60 in one way or the other.
Can we get a poll on that?
It feels like every time when it's Steven by himself, chat's just shitting on him, but if somebody else joins, chat's shitting on whoever joins.
Yeah, especially Lycan.
I mean, like, I was getting, shit on, and then Abba came in and said the same thing I did. The tone shifted in chat real quick.
He's got the bonus to charisma rolls.
He's got that buddy of the year buff.
What was the fight between you and Pisco about housing?
He trolls. He just likes to come in and troll me sometimes.
Well,
Because Steven's housing takes are bad.
I think you've got a slightly more extreme leaning on the opposed to owning houses kind of take, but I see an issue with the way it's sort of propagandized. I think home ownership makes sense for certain people, but it's propagandized as like the ultimate thing that everybody should achieve, right? And that's a problem. And I don't think people should be striving for that. Similar to other types of things, like college is another one of those things. Like, that's super propagandized as well, or like job fulfillment and such. I think home ownership is one of those things where it makes sense for certain people, depending on what it is you want. I don't think if you're going to live in a city all of your life, I don't think owning a home makes a lot of sense, unless you want to be a landlord in the city and own lots of property there to make money off of that. But otherwise, it makes sense to just rent if that's the case. Home ownership otherwise would make more sense in like a suburb for multi-generational family type situation, or if you're going to want to have some land for something.
My biggest two gripes with Steven's take on home ownership is, one, that he thinks that people are only doing it for investment. I don't think anybody
I've
is
never
realistically.
literally said that in my entire life, but good.
You said
Knock that down.
people buy homes as investment.
I said that Americans' primary wealth building tool is their house, which is stupid, and that people view homes oftentimes as an investment, and it's one of the big reasons why people give over renting, because I say renting is like setting your money on fire.
So essentially you're not even saying that like people are buying it for then why are you so against people buying homes if that's not even the primary purpose of why people are buying homes?
The fact that the culture fetishizes owning a home is like the ultimate form of success, and that a home should be seen primarily as a very good investment, and that's like a major motivating reason for buying it, are the things that I'm opposed to.
It's a good way of putting it. Fetishize. That's what I should have used.
I think the only reason I want to buy is because everywhere I live, and this is before like the pandemic, the rents can go up exorbitantly. And they've been doing so the last 2 years in Florida. I think they were before I even moved here. So getting a house and having a fixed price and not having to deal with that changing would be really nice. Otherwise, I really don't care about owning a home.
and you probably
Sure, but I
shouldn't.
mean,
buy a
like
home
rents can
before
also fall, and I mean, it depends. I mean, it just depends on the markets, right?
the other. Oh, I was just gonna say the other thing that I disagreed with about this was from the argument from the other day, with I think his name was like Big Al or whatever, that 30-minute conversation before that one debate, where I think you made the argument, Steven, that people can't, like, if an air conditioner goes out, people can't afford that. But I don't think that's true at all, because like the God, I'm forgetting it now. But basically, one of the government agencies basically did like a survey, and the average American has over $5,000 in like saving. So like if they can't afford, to do repairs on a home with like the money that a government agency said that the average American has in savings, then like I don't know. I just thought that argument was also just wrong, because that doesn't make any sense.
The average American has $5,000 in a savings account that they could spend at any time on.
I don't know if it's a savings account or just like $5,000 in liquidity or whatever. But basically,
They might be able to
know,
throw it on a credit card or something, probably, sure. But I mean, it's still expensive. You still have to spend the money.
Home ownership has a lot of things to factor in with it. So you got to do your own repairs. You have to pay potentially property taxes depending on where you are. You got to deal with a lot of issues with regard to environment and such, like what happens with the environment, earthquake damage, etc., flooding, fires, you name it. All that stuff is on you. You got to deal with it. You got to deal with different forms of insurance potentially. And so these are things that you all have to kind of factor in. So home ownership is a really big thing to buy into, and it's just a thing that like oftentimes isn't really talked about. And so people are sort of chasing this dream of owning a house, and it's not really talked about all the things that go into home ownership, and like why it is that you might want to own a home versus maybe why you wouldn't want to own a home. So I think if you want to, like, the goal for owning a home shouldn't be to own a home, because that's what you're supposed to do. It should be because you want to have a house that you can have your parents and your kids in together or something, and have something that you can pass on that can house multiple families, something like that, or that you can grow food on, something, have more purpose to it than that. It was also that could be used as a way to pass down income, way to shelter income, another way of utilizing land and property ownership. Growing income is another way, but it also depends on where you buy and when you buy. But overall, property investment does grow over time on a longer scale.
Careful. It sounds like you're talking about homes as an investment, which Destiny's not a big fan of.
It depends, again, on where and when you buy. But yeah, on a longer timeline, it does tend to go up over time. But there are also areas where you can buy where that would be a very bad idea, where it's high risk.
Well, one important thing to realize is that when you rent, you're paying for everything. If you're renting from a sophisticated landlord...
Well, that was what I just said.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Well, I'm thinking
no, I was saying, with purchase.
If you're renting from a sophisticated landlord, they've already priced in every repair, all the property tax, all of the time, their wages for the super, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you're not actually getting a good deal on these. Like, the cash flow itself
depends.
might go up and down.
It depends. So some investment properties, like if they just bought it and they bought it on a mortgage and they bought it with a rather large mortgage, then yeah, you're probably not going to get a good deal, and they're rolling in a whole bunch of stuff. Especially if it's an older property that needs a lot of repairs or something, or if it's got a homeowners association that is in an older unit, right? And so that could cost a lot more. But if it's something that they've owned for a while and, they have it outright, the title is in their name, so they don't owe anything, then you might actually be getting a pretty good deal, and you're not actually paying that much because they don't owe anything on it. Maybe they're just paying property taxes and then a few maintenance costs or something.
I think like the.
Wait,
I don't
hold
know, there are
on.
a ton
Just
of-
like to correct. No, you should always be getting a somewhat bad deal on rent by definition. If the person that's owning the property, if they're renting to you, that means they're making money on it. You're paying a premium to smooth out the cost of living in a place. That's the whole point of paying rent, is you have the ability to leave and you don't have to deal with large spikes in cost. And in order to average that out, it's like insurance. You're paying a premium on that. So you should never be getting a quote unquote good deal on rent. You're paying a premium the same way that you would be for insurance, just like you're never getting a good deal on insurance, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I think
my
the difference is like how much are you paying? Are you paying are you paying a high rent for the area, or is it a comparable, or is it low rent?
You should be paying,
and
so
why?
I don't know, whatever at the end of the day, it probably averages out to whatever the profit margins are in whatever industry, probably like 10%. You're paying some slightly higher fee to have a place that you can easily leave and you don't have to pay large spikes in costs from in order to have
I would have paid about 500 to 1,000 more for a comparable 3-bedroom apartment when I had a house. The house, and I was never going to have as much square foot. Like it was a townhome. Like the the living room and the kitchen were one level. You're just not going to get that kind of space at an apartment. So you're going to pay a lot more for the apartment. So that's like a benefit, I guess. To the house part is you're not paying as much. Plus, if you buy new construction, or if you have really good inspectors when you buy it and it's not that old a home, like how long do I have left on the roof? How long am I going to have on this water heater? Things like that. You have more control. You have more ability to do proactive maintenance, to take care of things. Everything else with the apartment, it's kind of you're paying more. It's all up in the air. So you kind of have that control to be mindful of what you're going to have to take care of in your place, and that extra money can go into savings. That can go into being ready for any of those repairs. So if your roof is going to go in 10 years, you start saving. It's like, okay, time for the roof to go, and you're ready for it. Like, so yeah, you have to take care of all those things, but you also get a little more money and a little more time and to plan for those things. Here in apartments, like I don't know when the fucking air conditioning is going to go out, but I've lived in 2 apartments where
well, hold on. For apartments, you don't have to plan for any of those things because they're not your responsibility.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like I don't know when that's going to go out. It happens all the fucking time, but that's baked into my cost that they're fucking taking care of it. At my place, I can be mindful of that and hopefully be financially prepared. But I'd rather pay. I like the apartments for the ease of moving because I've not stayed in one place for too long, and so I can go from this location to that location, and moving is super fucking simple. I don't have to go through the hell of selling a house or deciding if I'm going to rent it and then going through a management company to rent it out. So like, I don't know. The only thing that I worry about with home ownership, aside from like, it's hard to rent a good home that will have like the right yard in the areas that I want to live in, is that when I'm retired, I'd like to have a place that is already taken care of. Like I've paid it off and I don't have to worry about that in retirement.
The nice thing about home ownership is it is yours, assuming that you've paid off whatever mortgage you have if you bought with a mortgage. So it's yours, technically. You own the title. And so it's a lot harder for you to lose that. However, it is a lot to lose potentially. Like if you have to pay property taxes and you don't pay it, the state can take it from you and put it up for auction. So that's a huge thing to lose because you just sunk a whole bunch of money into that, right? But it is yours. And so it's very hard for someone to take that from you.
Why does no one make the argument like that? Because for me, like one of the big reasons that I want to own a home is because like I don't like the fact that like you can't do anything to an apartment. You have to get like in some places you can get approval from the landlord, but ultimately you run the risk of like losing your security deposit to like put up curtains and shit like that. Like, is that? I know that feels like small shit, but ultimately the security deposits of renting your whole life are gonna add up to a lot of money too.
Well, typically, as it depends. So if you're a renter, I don't know, it depends on the renter. But oftentimes renters are moving around a lot, so aren't usually doing a lot of modifications in the first place. So that kind of thing wouldn't really matter. But if you own a home, you're usually settling down. And so you're going to be doing modifications because you're going to be there for a long time. So that usually is something that's kind of bundled with the fact that you're a homeowner. You're going to be doing a lot to the environment because you're going to be there for a long time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like, you don't have
much.
those opportunities as a renter. Like, It seems like his
Yeah,
renting's
but-
like kind of dog shit for that.
But also, as a renter, built into the renter's market is you're going to move with that market. You're going to move because you're going to find cheaper rent somewhere. You're going to move because this isn't your permanent home, right? So the things that come down to like modifying the environment, doing changes to the house that you live in, don't even really matter that much because you're a renter and you tend to move around and chase lower rent costs and better places to move and stuff like that, as opposed to sitting in one place long enough to modify the environment that much. So they're kind of two separate things entirely. Right. One is more of a, living in one place for a very long time type of thing. And one is slightly more of a, moves around a lot. And so therefore isn't going to be doing that kind of thing much anyway. Steven, do you have a cat now?
Yeah, he hangs out here sometimes.
Oh.
Okay, are we good on this topic? Oh, GSU Gambit. Oh boy.
No. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
What? Why are you saying, oh boy, man? What happened?
I don't know. What's up?
No, I just had a small question because I actually don't know
I'm
how
gonna drop off. Good seeing you though, Gambit.
Be careful.
Take care of your kitty for me. Bye.
Yeah, and this won't be long. I just don't know your take on this. I was listening to your conversation with Sam Harris, and at the beginning, he was like pressing you on why do you talk to certain people or just something of that sort. And you were like kind of, explain yourself like you do all the time on that. I was expecting you to like.
Hold on. I'm so sorry. Did you hear that?
No, wait, what?
I'm sorry. It must be something in my fucking microphone. My bad. Okay, you said I was talking to Sam Harris.
Yeah, so he was kind of asking, why do you talk to people that he sees as despicable or whatever? I was expecting you to fight him on that, and you didn't, and I was a little bit upset. And I thought your opinion on this was not only do you talk to people who you think are like potentially reprehensible, but that you also think that's the way that we should kind of heal our like divide or whatever, right?
I would have to go back and listen, but like typically what was my response to when he said that?
No, you explain yourself, but I was more interested. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a hot topic because I know Destiny is going to push back and be like, no, you should start doing this too. And like people like Brett Weinstein or whoever that he's not arguing with, like I thought you were going to push him to say, wait, why aren't you more like me? But then the conversation kind of just ended.
Well, Sam has intentionally moved away from like that combative stuff because for him it's like mentally super unhealthy, which I can understand, right? But I think he's made a conscious decision to step back from stuff like that.
Yeah, but I wanted you to fight him on that. But
Why?
maybe,
What do you mean?
Okay,
It's
so
up
you're
to,
saying,
I think everybody can deal with however, like if something is mentally unhealthy for you, like if you find you're being made like fucking miserable by a certain style of engagement, I don't think you have an obligation to engage in that way. And he's not like dishonest about it. It's not like Crowder or all these other guys who are like, oh yeah, we'll debate anybody, but then they like won't. So I think it's okay if you don't want to do that style of conversation.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. No, I told you this would be really quick. I thought you were stronger on this.
Oh no, I think everybody has
stronger. I don't mean like
everybody has like a role and people do different things well. I don't think everybody has to be like the debater archetype. It just depends on what your strengths are. Yeah.
I think he has. I think if you want the world to be a better place, there's a level of negative emotion and mental load and whatever that I think we should have with the hopes that the conversations that we're having are going to make the world a better place.
I agree, but that you're talking about an insane level. That's a huge load right there. A good one that you're talking about him taking on. That's not just like a minor thing. Like getting into adversarial conversations online it's a hard thing for a lot of people to do.
No, not online. No, like not on Twitter, but I'm saying like there's many people that have called him out that he used to be close friends with, and his whole stick was, yes, we're all a part of the intellectual dark web. We have difference of opinions, but we can argue amongst ourselves and stay rational.
Yeah,
And
but
then
hasn't he
when,
separated himself from all that IDW stuff and everything?
yeah, I know, and I view that somewhat as cowardice, and I thought you would too. And like I said, I agree that there's a level of like negative interaction that could make you want to get away from the space, and maybe he has reached that point, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all.
Okay. Are you voting for Kamala?
I think the best path forward is for Kamala to win the presidency and then the Senate to be owned by Republicans, so there's no legislation that's passed.
Wow. Okay. So you're voting for Kamala, and then you're going to vote Republican down ballot.
I can't bring myself to vote Republican, but that's what I hope happens.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it for now.
Yeah,
okay.
that's crazy.
Okay.
Wait, so you're like super pro Kamala? Or you're just super pro non-Republican party?
Non-Republican party right now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Same. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love you, buddy.
All right, love you too, bro. Talk soon.
Be careful, bye.